The jungle was silent except for the distant drip of water from the dense canopy, each drop echoing like a heartbeat through the humid air. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, painting the forest floor in patches of gold and shadow. Amidst this primeval silence, an unusual glimmer caught the explorer's eye, a glint of crystal, sharp and otherworldly, buried partially beneath centuries of fallen leaves. As he knelt to uncover it, a chill ran down his spine, a mixture of awe and unease. What he held in his hands was unlike anything he had ever encountered. A human skull, carved not from bone, but from flawless, translucent crystal. Its features were eerily precise, the eye sockets deep and hollow, yet radiating a strange lifelike quality that seemed almost knowing. From a moment of this discovery, whispers of mystery began to spread, though few could imagine the journey that lay ahead. Scholars, adventurers, and collectors would soon be drawn into a web of fascination and suspicion, a story that would stretch across continents and centuries. The skull seemed to pulse with a silent message, as if it had been waiting for someone, or something, to find it. This was not the first skull to emerge from the shadows of time, but it was perhaps the most enigmatic. Its surface was smooth beyond belief, polished to perfection by means that modern tools could barely replicate. Every ridge, curve, and line appeared intentional, deliberate, almost as if the hands that made it possessed knowledge lost to humanity. The question immediately arose: how could such an object exist in a civilization believed to wield only primitive tools? Could it have been the work of an unknown culture? Or was it something far stranger, something that defied conventional understanding of history? In the years that followed, explorers and archaeologists would recount the first encounters with the crystal skulls with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Some spoke of visions that visited them in dreams, flashes of landscapes long vanished under centuries of decay, and fragments of a civilization that had perhaps reached an extraordinary pinnacle of artistry and science. Others reported an unsettling presence, a feeling that the skull was more than an artifact. It was a witness, an observer silently judging the intrusion of human hands into its resting place. Word spread quickly among collectors in Europe and the Americas. Rumors whispered of other skulls scattered across distant lands, each one equally intricate, each one shrouded in legend. Some were said to have been buried with rulers, others hidden in secret chambers, while a few allegedly held the key to cosmic knowledge or prophetic power. As fascination grew, so did skepticism. Could these objects truly be as ancient as the jungle hinted? Or were they the cunning forgeries of unscrupulous artisans seeking fame and fortune? The tension between belief and doubt would mark the early years of the crystal skull's notoriety. Museums coveted them, while private collectors vied to possess them. Scientists struggled to reconcile the impossibility of their craftsmanship with the evidence of their authenticity. Yet despite endless examinations, tests, and debates, the skulls resisted classification. Every angle, every polished facet seemed to mock the limits of human understanding, leaving experts with more questions than answers. One particularly chilling encounter involved a young archaeologist who had traveled deep into the Guatemalan highlands. He described the moment he first held a crystal skull in his hands as a collision with eternity. Its weight was deceptively heavy, dense beyond expectation, as if it contained within it the memories of countless generations. When he gazed into its hollow eyes, he claimed to see not emptiness, but reflection, visions of history that stretched beyond any textbook, beyond any recorded timeline. Whether these were true glimpses or the mind's own invention, The experience left an indelible mark on him, shaping the obsession that would consume the lives of many who followed. Yet, amid the wonder and reverence, a subtle fear lingered. Legends of curses and misfortune attached themselves almost immediately, passed along by word of mouth from village elders to explorers. Those who dared to remove the skulls from their resting places spoke of restless nights, strange accidents, and inexplicable maladies. Whether coincidence, superstition, or something more mysterious, these tales only deepened the allure and the dangers surrounding the objects. They were no longer just artifacts. They had become symbols, vessels of both human aspiration and human trepidation. By the end of the 19th century, the crystal skulls had begun their slow journey into the public imagination, bridging the gap between archaeological marvel and mystical enigma. They were displayed in exhibitions, studied under microscopes, and yet remained tantalizingly beyond full comprehension. The world could marvel at their beauty, speculate on their origin, and argue over authenticity, but the skulls themselves remained silent, holding their secrets with unyielding resolve. And so, the story begins, not with answers, but with questions. Questions that would carry explorers into jungles, laboratories, and the dark corridors of human obsession. Questions that would blur the line between myth and science, between history and legend. As we stand at the threshold of this mystery, one thought lingers. What truths are locked within the crystalline depths of these skulls, waiting patiently to be discovered, or perhaps deliberately concealed? The unknown beckons, and the journey into the enigma of the crystal skulls has only just begun. Long before explorers stumbled upon the crystal skulls in the jungles of Central America, whispers of strange, sacred objects filled the stories of ancient peoples. Across the highlands and valleys where civilizations like the Maya, Aztec, and Olmec thrived, skulls were more than symbols of mortality. They were conduits, talismans, and sometimes vessels of hidden power. Tales of skulls carved from bone, stone, and even crystal appeared in oral histories, often cloaked in ritualistic secrecy, guarded jealously by priests and shamans who understood the gravity of the objects they protected. These were not mere trinkets. They were believed to connect the living with the dead, the temporal with the eternal, and the known with the unknowable. Spanish conquistadors first recorded such tales during their expeditions in the 16th century. Chroniclers like Bernal Diaz del Castillo wrote of seeing elaborate skull effigies in the temples of Tenochtitlan, noting their startling craftsmanship and eerie presence. Many priests refused to reveal the location of sacred relics to outsiders, and those who attempted to pry too deeply were often met with threats, or worse, whispered curses. Some conquistadors dismissed these accounts as superstition, attributing them to barbaric customs, while others felt an unshakable unease. One chronicler wrote that the skulls seemed almost alive, watching with hollow eyes that followed every movement, a subtle warning to those who dared to violate their sanctity. Among the indigenous people, the skull was not merely a reminder of death, but a symbol of transformation and insight. The Maya, in particular, revered the skull as a representation of the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. They believed that certain objects could store wisdom, ancestral knowledge, and even cosmic truths. Legend spoke of crystal-like stones imbued with power, capable of revealing visions or guiding rituals of prophecy. Yet, these stories were intentionally veiled in allegory. Outsiders often misinterpreted the symbolism, assuming superstition where there was layered meaning. For those who understood, the skulls were keys, encoded with knowledge lost over time, meant only for the initiated. It was not only in Central America, that such legends appeared. Across continents, skulls held sacred significance, though rarely in crystal form. In Tibet, skull cups were used in rituals to honor the impermanence of life. In ancient Europe, carved skulls and ossuaries reminded humanity of mortality while serving ceremonial purposes. The recurrence of this symbolism raises tantalizing questions. Could the crystal skulls be a continuation of a universal language of human belief? Or were they an isolated marvel, a singular creation that transcended geography and culture? Colonial-era explorers often stumbled upon fragments of these narratives, usually through fragments of local stories that survived conquest and colonization. A common thread emerged. The skulls were intimately connected to both warning and wonder. They were said to hold messages from ancestors, sometimes speaking of catastrophic events, cycles of civilization, or the destiny of humankind. Some legends suggested the skulls could heal or curse, depending on the intent of those who possessed them. As European collectors and scholars began to take note, these objects became simultaneously coveted and feared, their true meaning shrouded in a mixture of reverence and suspicion. The tension between understanding and mystique was further complicated by early archaeological reporting. Explorers often documented skulls with vague provenance, conflicting dates, and mysterious origins. Some skulls were said to have been buried with rulers, others found in hidden temple chambers, sometimes alongside gold, jade, and other precious artifacts. Yet despite the apparent abundance, detailed records were scarce, leading to speculation that these objects had been intentionally obscured by those who understood their significance, or by those who wished to profit from their secrecy. Human fascination with skulls is not purely historical. From ancient times to the present day, they symbolize both mortality and mystery. The crystal skulls, however, added an entirely new dimension to this fascination. Unlike ordinary bone, crystal captured light, reflected it, and almost seemed to contain a life of its own. When sunlight or torchlight hit the surface, the skulls shimmered as though a hidden fire burned within, sparking both awe and fear in those who observed them. It was as if the ancients, whoever they were, had created a conduit between the physical and metaphysical, a tangible object that could bridge the gap between the known world and realms beyond comprehension. Despite centuries of storytelling, the origins of the crystal skulls remained elusive. Some historians argued they were relatively modern creations, perhaps the work of skilled European artisans or opportunistic collectors seeking fame and wealth. Others suggested a more extraordinary origin, pointing to lost civilizations whose technological knowledge far exceeded what was previously believed possible. These theories, speculative and provocative, added to the allure of the skulls, capturing the imagination of both scholars and the general public. Legends told by local tribes often hinted at consequences for those who attempted to misuse or remove the skulls. One story describes a priest who entrusted a crystal skull to a Spanish explorer, only for the explorer to meet an untimely death shortly after leaving the village. Another recounts a sacred guardian warning an intruder that the skull remembers every hand that touches it, every thought that seeks to exploit it. Whether these tales were rooted in superstition, coincidence, or reality, they reinforced the idea that the skulls carried significance far beyond their material form. By the 19th century, European and American collectors began seeking the skulls more aggressively, drawn by both the legends and the promise of possession. Their accounts, often written with the grandeur of adventure and discovery, highlighted not only the aesthetic beauty of the objects, but also the human emotions they evoked: obsession, fear, reverence, and the insatiable desire to uncover secrets long hidden. As more skulls appeared in collections, the story surrounding them expanded, blending historical fact with myth and laying the foundation for the global fascination that persists to this day. The whispers from the past, then, were not merely idle stories. They were the echoes of civilizations grappling with knowledge and power, of humans confronting the mysteries of life and death. Each tale, each fragment of legend, pointed to a profound question. What did the creators of these skulls intend for those who would one day uncover them? And more importantly, could these objects carry a truth that modern eyes had yet to recognize? As we move forward in our journey through the mystery of the crystal skulls, it becomes clear that the past itself is speaking to us through fragments, stories, and artifacts. The voices of ancient peoples, their fears and hopes, converge in these objects, inviting both wonder and caution. The whispers from centuries ago are more than folklore. They are an invitation into a story that challenges our understanding of history, technology, and the human desire to grasp the unknowable. The world of European collectors first encountered a crystal skull in the late 19th century, long after whispers of these objects had traveled through the jungles of Central America. It arrived not through careful archaeological excavation, but via a mixture of rumor, legend, and sheer human curiosity. Scholars and explorers alike were immediately struck by its beauty, its uncanny precision, and the unsettling sense that it was far older and far more sophisticated than anything known from the civilizations of the time. The skull in question was brought to England, where it quickly became the object of intense study. Museum curators, eager to understand its origins, marveled at the craftsmanship. Unlike ordinary artifacts, the skull appeared to have been carved with tools that should not have existed for hundreds, perhaps even thousands, of years. Every curve was flawless, the jawline perfectly symmetrical, the teeth individually sculpted with remarkable detail. When sunlight struck its surface, it refracted and glimmered in a way that seemed almost alive. Some visitors swore they could feel a subtle warmth emanating from the crystal, as if it were breathing, as if it were aware of their gaze. Word of this remarkable object spread rapidly among collectors and scholars. Letters were written, articles published, and debates sparked over whether the skull was an ancient relic or a modern fabrication. At first, many assumed it was a masterful forgery, a trick of an exceptionally skilled artisan who had managed to convince even the most knowledgeable experts. Yet the more it was examined, the more anomalies appeared. Microscopic scratches suggested techniques unknown to 19th century toolmakers. The internal structure of the crystal seemed impossibly uniform, almost engineered. Scientists began to suspect that either the skull came from a culture far more advanced than previously imagined, or that it was a deliberate enigma, a puzzle meant to confound and captivate. Collectors were both fascinated and obsessed. Wealthy adventurers vied to obtain similar artifacts, convinced that the skulls contained hidden knowledge or mystical power. Some believed that the crystal skulls were repositories of wisdom, ancient libraries encoded in stone. Others feared them, whispering that they carried curses or were remnants of dark rituals designed to control life and death itself. The human drama surrounding these objects became as compelling as the objects themselves. Rivalries flared, deals were made in secrecy, and rumors circulated that certain skulls had vanished without explanation, stolen under the cover of night or spirited away by those unwilling to share their secrets. The first skull also marked the beginning of a persistent debate: authenticity. Experts examined the crystal under microscopes, analyzed its composition, and compared it to known artifacts from Mesoamerican cultures. Some argued that the skull was genuinely ancient, perhaps crafted by a civilization whose techniques had been lost to time. Others maintained that it was a product of the 19th century, a time when explorers and artisans were eager to profit from the fascination with lost civilizations. The lack of definitive provenance only fueled the mystery. With every test and analysis, new questions arose, leaving scientists and historians in a state of uneasy wonder. Stories surrounding the skull grew as it moved from museum to private collection. Visitors claimed unusual experiences, a sudden chill, fleeting visions, or a sense that the skull was watching them. Some described faint hums, almost imperceptible, emanating from the crystal. Whether these were psychological effects or something more mysterious remains unknown, but they contributed to the aura of the skull as more than mere object. It was no longer simply an artifact. It had become a character in a story that spanned centuries, continents, and human imagination. The cultural context of the first skull added layers to its enigma. The Olmec civilization, often credited with the earliest forms of Mesoamerican artistry, produced remarkable sculptures in basalt and jade, but nothing matched the precision of a crystal skull. The Maya and Aztec created skull imagery in stone and obsidian, yet the delicate perfection of a fully formed crystal skull remained unmatched. Scholars were forced to confront a stark possibility. The skull did not comfortably fit within known historical frameworks. It challenged conventional timelines, demanding reconsideration of human capability and ingenuity. As the first skull gained fame, it attracted both enthusiasts and skeptics. Explorers wrote detailed accounts of expeditions to trace similar artifacts, documenting the treacherous jungles, lost temples, and whispered legends. Scientists tested it with every available method: X-rays, spectroscopy, and more, each revealing extraordinary craftsmanship, yet providing no definitive answers about its true age. The tension between evidence and speculation became a defining feature of the crystal skull phenomenon. It was a mystery crafted to endure, a riddle embedded in quartz that could be touched, held, and studied, yet never fully explained. The human fascination with the skull was not merely academic. It was deeply emotional. Collectors reported obsession, sleepless nights, and a consuming desire to understand its origins. Curiosity gave way to almost reverential awe, tempered by fear. There were whispers that those who possessed the skulls experienced strange coincidences or misfortune, lending the objects an air of danger and forbidden knowledge. In this way, the first skull was both treasure and curse, captivating the imagination while hinting at unseen consequences for those who sought to control it. By the end of the 19th century, the first crystal skull had become a legend in its own right. It was studied, displayed, disputed, and revered, its mystique growing with each retelling. Its journey from a hidden jungle relic to the gaze of scientists and collectors symbolized humanity's eternal struggle to reconcile wonder with reason, myth with history. The skull seemed to exist at the intersection of belief and skepticism, a reminder that some mysteries refuse to be solved, even when examined under the most intense scrutiny. And yet, even as this first skull captured the attention of the world, it was only the beginning. Other skulls would surface, each adding new layers to the mystery, each stirring debates over authenticity, power, and purpose. The human story intertwined with the skulls of greed, faith, obsession, and ambition had begun, and there was no turning back. Every eye that gazed into its hollow sockets, every hand that traced its polished surface, became part of a narrative that was larger than any one person, a story stretching back into the depths of history and forward into the boundless realms of speculation. The first skull, then, was both anchor and invitation. It anchored us to the enigma that awaited exploration, yet invited daring, curiosity, and wonder. What civilization could have carved it? What purpose did it serve? And, perhaps most hauntingly, what knowledge or power did it conceal, waiting patiently for the world to catch up? These questions, lingering and unresolved, set the stage for a journey that would take explorers, scientists, and dreamers far beyond the boundaries of what was believed possible. Long before the first crystal skull entered a museum, their presence had already been etched into the fabric of human belief. Among the Maya, Aztec, and Olmec, skulls were not merely symbols of death. They were conduits of prophecy, vessels of knowledge, and warnings from the divine. In ancient temples carved from stone, priests would arrange skulls on altars, whispering incantations and interpreting signs believed to shape the destiny of their people. To touch, to look upon, or even to speak of these skulls was to enter a liminal space between the living and the eternal. Stories tell of the Maya observing the constellations through ceremonial skulls, their translucent surfaces catching the light of the moon and stars. Some believe these were more than tools. They were communication devices, amplifying knowledge and insight across the human mind. The crystal skulls, when viewed in this context, are not merely art. They are encoded history, instruments of revelation that could reveal both danger and opportunity to those able to perceive their message. Yet this knowledge was guarded jealously, kept secret from outsiders who might misuse it. The Aztecs, known for their reverence of life and death in equal measure, also held skulls in mystical significance. Skull racks, or tsumpantli, displayed human remains as reminders of mortality and the cycles of existence. Within these rituals, some skulls were said to be imbued with spiritual energy, connecting the living with the ancestors. Though crafted from bone, the reverence accorded them mirrored the awe with which the later crystal skulls would be regarded. These practices hint at a cultural continuity, a shared understanding of skulls as vessels of both mortality and power. Legends among indigenous tribes describe crystal-like skulls appearing at pivotal moments in history, always as harbingers. Some spoke of skulls arriving after great calamities, signaling the end of one age and the beginning of another. Others told of visions granted to those who approached with humility, glimpses of cities swallowed by jungle, rivers running red with prophecy, and celestial alignments that foretold shifts in human destiny. These were not mere tales. They were warnings encoded in story, ritual, and object, intended to guide future generations. When the first European explorers arrived in Central America, they encountered these narratives but struggled to comprehend them fully. Letters from Spanish chroniclers hint at both fascination and fear, describing relics that seemed almost sentient. Some conquistadors reported seeing skulls that reflected light with unnatural brilliance, evoking awe and dread simultaneously. Priests refused to reveal the true purpose of these objects, often veiling their meaning in allegory and metaphor. To outsiders, the skulls seemed mysterious, almost magical, but to the native peoples, they were practical and sacred, tools of divination and memory. The omens associated with the crystal skulls were not limited to observation. Oral traditions often carried warnings. Those who sought the skull for selfish purposes would suffer consequences. One tale tells of a greedy merchant who attempted to remove a sacred skull from a temple. Within days, he was stricken by illness, losing wealth and family in a series of tragic events. Another recounts a priest's vision of conquest and bloodshed, triggered by a foreign hand disturbing a sacred artifact. These stories served dual purposes, They protected the skulls from misuse and reinforced the notion that some knowledge was too powerful to be wielded lightly. Yet the allure of the unknown proved irresistible. Even as indigenous guardians warned of curses, the promise of hidden wisdom, power, or immortality drove explorers, archaeologists, and later collectors to pursue the crystal skulls with single-minded determination. This human tension between reverence and ambition would become a defining feature of the skull story. Each new skull discovered sparked both excitement and fear, fascination and obsession, creating a narrative that intertwined human history with human desire. Legends also spoke of the skulls as repositories of cosmic knowledge. In some myths, they were said to contain maps of the stars, instructions for survival during cataclysmic events, or secrets about the origins of civilization itself. The mere thought of such power was intoxicating. Scholars, both ancient and modern, speculated endlessly. Were these objects purely symbolic, or did they encode information beyond ordinary comprehension? Could they serve as time capsules, preserving the understanding of civilizations lost to history? These questions elevated the skulls from mere artifacts to symbols of humanity's eternal search for truth. Despite the centuries separating these legends from modern discovery, their echoes remained vivid. When the first crystal skulls reached Europe, collectors immediately sensed something uncanny. Unlike ordinary artifacts, these skulls seemed to hum with history, carrying not just form but meaning. Visitors reported feelings of unease, sudden insights, or an almost imperceptible tug at consciousness. Whether this was the result of suggestion, superstition, or genuine interaction with a mysterious force is unclear, but the effect was undeniable. The skulls inspired devotion, fear, and obsession, reflecting the same emotional spectrum described in ancient tales. Interestingly, the legends also suggest a hidden logic or system embedded within the skulls. Some priests allegedly taught that arranging multiple skulls in alignment with celestial events could unlock visions or knowledge. Others claimed that the skulls, when placed in proximity, resonated with one another, creating a network of energy capable of influencing both thought and destiny. Modern researchers would later attempt to replicate these effects, conducting studies on electromagnetic fields, vibrations, and human perception, but the results remained inconclusive. The mysteries persisted, echoing the ancient warnings. Some knowledge is not easily grasped, and some power is never meant to be wielded fully. The cultural and spiritual significance of the crystal skulls extends beyond their physical properties. They are entwined with human psychology, belief, and desire. Legends speak not only of their origin, but of their effect on the human soul. Those who approached them with humility and respect were said to gain insight and clarity. Those motivated by greed or ego were warned of suffering and misfortune. In this way, the skulls became mirrors of humanity itself, reflecting both noble aspiration and destructive impulse. As these legends traveled, first orally, then through the writings of explorers and chroniclers, they laid the foundation for a narrative that would captivate the modern world. The whispers from the past became stories in print, fueling curiosity, obsession, and sometimes fear. By the time the first skulls were brought to museums, they were already more than objects. They were symbols of an ancient, enduring enigma, capable of inspiring awe, wonder, and trepidation in equal measure. The omens, the myths, and the whispers all converge on one undeniable truth. The crystal skulls are more than mere relics of a forgotten past. They are touchstones of human imagination, vessels of legend, and perhaps repositories of a knowledge that stretches beyond conventional understanding. Each story, each warning, and each recorded experience serves as a reminder that these objects are alive in history, in memory, and in the human mind, continuing to challenge and fascinate those who seek to unravel their mysteries. As we move forward into the narrative of investigation, exploration, and scientific scrutiny, the shadows of these legends will continue to loom. The human stakes are clear. The allure of the skulls is not only in their beauty or rarity, but in the promise of revelation, the danger of obsession, and the tantalizing possibility that they hold truths beyond comprehension. With every step into the history of the crystal skulls, one must tread carefully, for the line between wonder and peril is as sharp as the facets of the skull itself. As tales of the crystal skulls spread from ancient whispers to the halls of European collectors, a new kind of pursuit began, one fueled by obsession, ambition, and sometimes greed. These were the skull hunters, adventurers who risked jungles, storms, and disease in pursuit of objects said to hold unimaginable knowledge. For them, the skulls were not mere curiosities, they were keys, prizes, and symbols of personal conquest. Their stories reveal human desire in its rawest form, showing how obsession can blur the line between reverence and recklessness. One of the earliest recorded skull hunters was an English explorer whose name would appear repeatedly in letters and journals of the late 19th century. He traveled deep into the Guatemalan highlands, following fragments of indigenous lore and tantalizing rumors passed along by local guides. Each step forward was fraught with danger. Treacherous terrain, tropical diseases, and hostile wildlife made the journey perilous. Yet the lure of the skull was irresistible. Every account describes his mix of fear and exhilaration as he imagined holding in his hands a piece of history that could unlock secrets long thought lost. Hunters were not motivated solely by curiosity. The promise of fame, wealth, and power drove many to extremes. Some financed entire expeditions with personal fortunes, hiring local guides, laborers, and interpreters to navigate the dense jungles and ancient ruins. Others relied on cunning, trickery, or coercion, persuading villagers to reveal hidden caches of artifacts. Letters and diaries from these adventurers describe a peculiar obsession. The skulls were never just objects. They seemed to demand attention, to compel pursuit, and to create tension between desire and fear. Competition among skull hunters was fierce. Rivalries flared as explorers raced to claim skulls, sometimes leading to betrayal or sabotage. Accounts tell of stolen maps, clandestine deals, and even outright theft, reflecting the human stakes involved. For those who succeeded, the rewards were extraordinary. Not merely possession of a rare artifact, but the opportunity to touch something that seemed almost sacred, something that connected them, however briefly, to civilizations long vanished. Yet the very pursuit often carried a price, with danger lurking at every step and the constant threat of misfortune for those deemed unworthy by fate or legend. Some skull hunters reported strange phenomena during their expeditions. Guides described sudden mists that obscured trails, inexplicable animal behavior, and eerie sounds in the jungle. Others spoke of visions or premonitions, fleeting glimpses of structures that had long been reclaimed by the forest. Whether these were psychological effects, the product of fear and exhaustion, or genuine mystical experiences, they contributed to the aura surrounding the crystal skulls. Hunters came to believe that the objects themselves were alive in some sense, guiding, testing, or even punishing those who sought them. The stories of the skull hunters highlight the human obsession with the unknown. Some sought scientific understanding, hoping to prove that these objects predated known civilizations. Others sought spiritual insight, believing the skulls contained divine or prophetic knowledge. A few were motivated purely by greed, willing to risk life and reputation for the prestige of owning such a rare artifact. The interplay of these motivations created a narrative as compelling as the artifacts themselves, blending adventure, psychology, and human drama in a way that resonates even today. One particularly infamous skull hunter was a wealthy collector whose expeditions stretched across Mexico and Central America. Accounts describe him navigating remote jungles, negotiating with reluctant guides, and surviving ambushes by wild animals and hostile factions. Yet despite his meticulous planning, he encountered phenomena that defied explanation. Inexplicable equipment failures, sudden storms, and a persistent sense that he was being watched. Hunters like him became part of the skull's mythology, their lives entwined with the objects they sought, their ambitions both illuminating and cautionary. As more skulls emerged in museums and private collections, the human stories surrounding them multiplied. Letters, journals, and newspaper accounts reveal a web of intrigue. Friendships forged and broken, fortunes lost, and obsessions that lasted decades. These narratives underscore a universal truth. The pursuit of the crystal skulls is as much a story about human nature as it is about the artifacts themselves. They reveal our fascination with mystery, our hunger for discovery, and our willingness to risk everything in the hope of touching the unknown. The skull hunter's journeys also expose the tension between scientific inquiry and human ambition. Archaeologists and scholars often criticize the methods of these explorers, noting that their pursuits sometimes led to the destruction of archaeological sites or the loss of contextual information critical to understanding the artifacts. Yet the same adventurers were responsible for bringing the skulls into the broader awareness of the world. Without their efforts, the objects might have remained hidden, their legends confined to oral history. In this sense, the skull hunters were both a blessing and a curse, driving knowledge forward while risking distortion and exploitation. Human ambition, however, cannot fully account for the enduring fascination with these objects. The crystal skulls themselves seem to demand attention, to call out to those who encounter them. Stories abound of explorers suddenly discovering skulls in unexpected locations, as though fate or design had led them there. The artifacts challenge both understanding and belief, forcing hunters to confront not only physical danger, but existential questions. What civilization could have created such objects? What knowledge did they encode? And what consequences awaited those who dared to possess them? Even today, the tales of skull hunters inspire curiosity and caution. Modern explorers retrace the paths of their predecessors, seeking skulls, deciphering legends, and examining the objects through advanced scientific methods. Yet the human drama persists. Rivalries flare in academic journals. Disputes over authenticity echo the competition of the past, and stories of obsession, misfortune, and awe continue to accompany the skulls wherever they appear. These narratives reinforce the idea that the pursuit of the unknown is a timeless aspect of human nature, one that crystal skulls, like other enigmatic artifacts, magnify and illuminate. The legacy of the skull hunters reminds us that the mystery of the crystal skulls is inseparable from the human desire to uncover secrets. They reveal the lengths to which we will go to possess knowledge, to touch history, and to confront the extraordinary. They are a testament to courage, ingenuity, and sometimes folly, illustrating the complex interplay between fascination, obsession, and the unknown. As the story moves forward, we see that the hunt is not merely about possession. It is about understanding, about connection, and about confronting questions that challenge our conception of history itself. The crystal skulls, silent and inscrutable, continue to call out to explorers, scholars, and dreamers alike, inviting them into a narrative that is as much about human nature as it is about ancient mystery. And with each new skull uncovered, the tension between wonder and peril, belief and skepticism, grows ever stronger, compelling us to ask, how far would one go to touch the unknown? When the crystal skulls first entered the laboratories of the world, scientists believed that technology would provide answers. With microscopes, magnifying lenses, and chemical analyses, they sought to reveal the truth of these mysterious objects. But what they discovered only deepened the enigma. Every skull, examined in painstaking detail, seemed to defy the limitations of both ancient and modern craftsmanship. The surfaces were flawless, polished with an intricacy that suggested mastery far beyond conventional tools. Microscopic striations hinted at a process neither fully understood nor reproducible, even by the most skilled artisans of the 19th century. Early tests focused on the composition of the crystal itself. Quartz, though naturally occurring, proved unusually uniform in these skulls, with no evidence of natural fracturing or internal flaws that typically accompany large crystalline structures. X-rays revealed internal features that suggested deliberate shaping, yet no trace of metal or cutting implements could be found. Some scientists speculated that the skulls had been carved with abrasives unknown to the time periods to which they were attributed. Others suggested advanced ancient technologies, now lost, capable of manipulating materials with precision that modern machinery struggles to replicate. Each hypothesis opened new avenues of awe and frustration. The human response to these anomalies was as fascinating as the skulls themselves. Researchers reported feelings of unease while working on them, a subtle tension as if the objects resisted scrutiny. Laboratories that had anticipated straightforward analysis instead became arenas of curiosity and fear. Even seasoned archaeologists, accustomed to examining artifacts of immense historical value, admitted to being unsettled by the uncanny perfection of the skulls. They seemed too precise to be primitive, too mysterious to be modern. The skulls occupied a liminal space, straddling the line between possibility and impossibility. One particularly baffling aspect was the apparent hardness of the crystal. Traditional carving tools could leave marks on stone, bone, or metal, yet the crystal skulls bore no such evidence. Every groove, every detail of the teeth and facial structure appeared sculpted with unimaginable delicacy. Electron microscopes revealed micro-fissures that suggested the use of rotary tools, but tools far more advanced than any confirmed ancient technology. Even in the 20th century, skilled artisans attempting to replicate the skulls admitted defeat. Their work lacked the finesse, symmetry, and eerie lifelike quality present in the originals. The skulls were simply beyond ordinary skill, human or otherwise. Beyond material composition, scientists explored other mysterious properties. Some researchers reported subtle electromagnetic anomalies when skulls were placed near sensitive equipment. Others noted changes in temperature, minor shifts in light refraction, or even slight vibrations undetectable to most instruments. Though controversial, these observations contributed to the growing sense that the skulls were not merely objects of artistry, but perhaps vessels of energy, or at least of phenomena not fully understood. Each experiment raised more questions than answers, and the line between science and speculation began to blur. Historical analysis further compounded the mystery. The skull's craftsmanship did not correspond neatly with any known Mesoamerican civilization. The Olmec, Maya, and Aztec had remarkable skill with jade, stone, and bone. Yet none produced objects matching the crystal skull's intricacy. Scholars debated whether these objects represented lost techniques, trade with unknown cultures, or an entirely unexplained mastery of material science. The question loomed: how could a civilization without documented tools or technology produce such perfection? This dilemma became the central puzzle of the skull's scientific study, challenging assumptions about human capability and historical timelines. Attempts to recreate the skulls under controlled conditions became legendary in academic circles. Craftsmen, both ancient method specialists and modern jewelers, worked tirelessly to duplicate the precise curves, teeth, and symmetry. Some came close in appearance, but never in microscopic detail. Even laser-guided modern equipment, designed to mimic perfection, could not achieve the seamless artistry observed in the originals. For scientists, the skulls represented both a technological and philosophical challenge. They were tangible objects that suggested an understanding of material, physics, and perhaps even human perception that remained elusive. The skull's resistance to explanation inspired speculation beyond conventional archaeology. Some suggested lost civilizations with knowledge of optics, metallurgy, or even unknown energy manipulation. Others proposed more extraordinary theories: extraterrestrial guidance, advanced pre-human intelligence, or mysterious esoteric knowledge passed down in secret. Mainstream science remained cautious, but the anomalies persisted. Every measurement, every test, seemed to push the boundaries of possibility, forcing a reconsideration of what humans, and perhaps other intelligences, could achieve. Human drama intensified as science wrestled with these objects. Collectors, scholars, and journalists became entangled in disputes over authenticity, ownership, and interpretation. Claims of forgery were met with counterclaims of lost knowledge. Every assertion carried emotional weight. Those who had dedicated years to studying the skulls often reported obsessive focus, sleepless nights, and emotional turmoil, a testament to the object's profound psychological impact. The science was not merely academic. It became a human story, revealing the consequences of encountering the inexplicable. Yet the skulls maintained their silence. They offered no answers, no testimony, only perfection and mystery. Scientists could measure, observe, and speculate, but each revelation brought new uncertainty. The skull seemed to exist outside conventional categories, neither fully ancient nor fully modern, neither fully explained nor entirely mythical. Their presence challenged assumptions, questioned timelines, and forced reflection on the limits of knowledge. They demanded both awe and humility, reminding humanity that some mysteries are not meant to be conquered so easily. The most striking lesson from early scientific encounters was the skull's dual nature, at once object and enigma, material and metaphysical. Laboratories could reveal atomic structure, microscopic grooves, and internal stress points, yet these findings illuminated nothing about the skull's purpose or origin. The human desire to classify, understand, and control collided with the skull's inherent resistance, producing a tension that mirrored the ancient warnings whispered in legend. For those studying them, the experience was both exhilarating and unsettling, a confrontation with the limits of science itself. As the skulls traveled from laboratories back to museums and private collections, their reputation grew. They became symbols of mystery, testaments to craftsmanship, and provocations to human curiosity. Scientists continued to debate and experiment, but the skulls remained steadfastly inscrutable. They embodied a paradox. Human hands could touch them, measure them, and marvel at them, Yet they retained an aura of untouchable knowledge, as though holding secrets that could never be fully revealed. In the end, the first encounters with scientific scrutiny revealed a stark truth. The crystal skulls were far more than objects of historical curiosity. They were challenges, puzzles, and mirrors, reflecting human ambition, limitation, and wonder. They reminded scientists, explorers, and dreamers alike that some mysteries endure not because they are unsolvable, but because they demand engagement, reflection, and humility. And as further skulls would emerge, each new analysis would continue to defy expectation, keeping the enigma alive and compelling humanity to confront a question as old as the objects themselves. What force, ancient or otherwise, shaped these flawless, eternal forms? The enigma of the crystal skulls did not remain confined to Central America. Once discovered by explorers and collectors, their legends spread across continents, carried by curiosity, ambition, and human fascination with the unknown. From Europe to North America, and even as far as Asia, the skulls became both objects of study and symbols of mystery. Their journey revealed as much about human obsession and the desire for knowledge as it did about the objects themselves. In England and France, museums and private collections began showcasing the crystal skulls, drawing crowds who marveled at their perfection. Visitors often described a strange sensation upon viewing them, a mixture of awe, unease, and inexplicable attraction. Scholars debated furiously, publishing articles and letters in journals, questioning authenticity, origin, and purpose. Each new display sparked speculation. Were the skulls ancient relics crafted by forgotten civilizations, or modern creations intended to deceive? The tension between fascination and skepticism defined the early international reception of these artifacts. In North America, collectors paid large sums to acquire skulls, sometimes at auctions shrouded in secrecy. These artifacts became status symbols, treasures that conferred prestige and power. Wealthy owners displayed them in private libraries and salons, inviting scholars to study them, but controlling access tightly. Tales of strange occurrences followed, lights that shimmered strangely, minor accidents befalling handlers, and feelings of being watched. Even across oceans, the skulls seemed to carry with them an aura of warning, a subtle reminder that they were more than mere objects of curiosity. The journey of the skulls also highlighted the human desire to connect them with broader mysteries. Writers and journalists began linking the artifacts to myths of lost civilizations, alien contact, and secret societies. Articles speculated that the skulls were remnants of Atlantis, evidence of advanced prehistoric knowledge, or even cosmic tools designed to communicate with other worlds. While these claims often fell outside mainstream scholarship, they fueled public imagination and cemented the skull's place in both scientific and popular discourse. Each new skull discovered or displayed was an invitation into this larger narrative, a mystery that transcended geography. Collectors and researchers began to notice patterns. Several skulls appeared to originate from similar regions of Mesoamerica, yet their journeys took them across oceans. Others were found in isolated locations far from any known civilization, leading to speculation about trade, migration, or even intentional placement. Some skulls surfaced in Europe centuries after the supposed time of their creation, suggesting the human fascination with these objects had deep roots. Whether through exploration, conquest, or chance, the skulls traveled vast distances, carrying their mysteries across continents and generations. In museums, scientists conducted cross-continental studies, comparing the composition, style, and craftsmanship of different skulls. Patterns emerged, but inconsistencies remained. Some skulls showed signs of ancient techniques. Others bore tool marks suggestive of more recent manufacture. Radiocarbon dating of surrounding artifacts occasionally aligned with Pre-Columbian timelines, while chemical analyses of the crystal suggested modern techniques could have been employed. This duality reinforced the idea that the skulls straddled multiple realities: ancient and modern, natural and crafted, known and unknowable. The international intrigue intensified when skulls appeared in North America during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Wealthy collectors, explorers, and even adventurers from Europe traveled across the Atlantic to secure them. Letters and diaries from these expeditions described journeys fraught with danger, harsh terrain, local resistance, and sometimes mysterious mishaps. These narratives mirrored the experiences of skull hunters in Central America, underscoring that the human drama surrounding the skulls was as enduring as the artifacts themselves. The objects had become symbols of ambition, obsession, and the unrelenting pursuit of mystery. Even as museums sought to catalog and protect the skulls, rumors persisted of clandestine exchanges, hidden caches, and lost artifacts waiting to be discovered. Scholars debated whether some skulls had been deliberately hidden or relocated to protect their secrets, or if human greed and ambition had scattered them across the globe. The skulls became characters in their own story, influencing human behavior, inspiring obsession, and challenging the limits of knowledge. Their journey across continents was more than a physical movement. It was a diffusion of mystery, carrying the enigma to new audiences and new cultural contexts. In parallel, the skulls captured the imagination of artists, writers, and filmmakers. Paintings, stories, and novels depicted the skulls as mystical, dangerous, or divinely inspired. These cultural interpretations reinforced the aura of power and mystery surrounding the artifacts, and they ensured that the skull's legend reached beyond academic circles into popular consciousness. Across continents, the crystal skulls became symbols of humanity's enduring fascination with the unknown, bridging history, mythology, and imagination in ways few other artifacts could. Despite their international presence, the skulls continued to challenge scientific understanding. Laboratories in Europe and America conducted chemical analyses, X-ray imaging, and optical studies. The results were perplexing. The skull's crystal structures remained unusually flawless. Tool marks were inconsistent with known historical techniques, and in some cases, subtle anomalies suggested a form of craftsmanship beyond conventional explanation. Even as science attempted to impose order, the skulls resisted categorization. They had crossed oceans, cultures, and centuries, yet retained an aura of mystery that defied simple explanation. Human engagement with the skulls across continents revealed something profound. Their power lay not only in their form, but in their capacity to provoke curiosity, debate, and obsession. Collectors, scientists, and casual observers all responded in ways that transcended geography. The skulls were catalysts for storytelling, rivalry, and exploration. They inspired journeys into both physical jungles and intellectual landscapes, forcing humans to confront questions about history, capability, and the unknown. Across continents, the crystal skulls had become mirrors reflecting human ambition, fear, and wonder. By the mid-20th century, the crystal skulls had become global symbols of mystery. They were displayed in exhibitions, studied under increasingly sophisticated scientific methods, and referenced in literature and media. Each new appearance reignited fascination, reinforcing the idea that the skulls were more than artifacts. They were active participants in human culture, shaping perception and inspiring inquiry. Their international journey revealed a truth central to their enigma. No matter where they traveled, they influenced those who encountered them, compelling humans to seek, question, and sometimes fear. The story of the crystal skull's journey across continents serves as a reminder that mystery is portable, capable of traversing not only physical space, but cultural, temporal, and emotional landscapes. From the jungles of Central America to the halls of European museums and the private collections of North America, the skulls carried with them a dual legacy: the beauty of their craftsmanship and the weight of their enigma. They challenged the known world, inspired exploration, and left humanity with enduring questions that remain unanswered to this day. From the moment the first crystal skulls emerged from the jungles and into human hands, whispers of their power began to circulate. Were they sacred relics meant to guide and protect, or dangerous objects whose misuse invited misfortune? The line between blessing and curse was never clear. Collectors and scholars alike reported experiences that defied explanation. Sudden chills, fleeting visions, feelings of being watched, or inexplicable bursts of intuition. The artifacts seemed to evoke human emotion as strongly as they did curiosity, bridging the gap between material object and mystical presence. Early European collectors noted strange coincidences surrounding the skulls. One skull, displayed in a private library, was associated with a series of misfortunes. A fire destroyed part of the collection. A family member fell gravely ill, and yet, curiously, the skull itself remained intact, untouched by the calamity. Others described feelings of intense focus or inspiration when studying the crystal, as though the object could convey knowledge or guidance. These anecdotal accounts blurred the boundaries between superstition and reality, leaving observers unsure whether they held a blessing or were flirting with a subtle curse. Indigenous legends provide context to these phenomena. In Mesoamerican cultures, skulls were symbols of mortality and divinity intertwined. Shamans and priests often used skulls in rituals to communicate with the spirit world or to gain insight into the future. These practices emphasized respect, caution, and humility. Those who approached recklessly, driven by greed or ego, were warned of consequences ranging from misfortune to outright disaster. Viewed through this lens, the crystal skull's reputation for strange effects becomes less a product of imagination and more a reflection of cultural beliefs encoded across centuries. One particularly striking story involves a skull transported from Mexico to Europe. During the voyage, the ship encountered a violent storm. Crew members reported eerie phenomena. Instruments malfunctioned, lights flickered without cause, and several individuals claimed to see shadowy figures near the hold. The skull itself remained unscathed, perched on the deck as though observing the events. Upon arrival, the artifact was carefully secured in a museum, yet reports of minor accidents and unexplainable occurrences continued. Skeptics dismissed these as coincidence, but for many, the skull's presence seemed to alter reality in subtle, yet undeniable ways. Accounts of perceived blessing are equally compelling. Researchers and collectors sometimes reported heightened insight, moments of sudden clarity, or creative breakthroughs while studying the skulls. One anthropologist described a sequence of visions while examining a skull under candlelight, experiencing a sense of profound connection with the ancient world. These experiences were fleeting and subjective, yet they contributed to the aura that the skulls were more than physical objects. They were conduits for knowledge, inspiration, or even spiritual awakening. The human psychology surrounding these encounters cannot be overlooked. Objects of beauty and mystery have long inspired intense emotion. Yet the crystal skulls seem to magnify these effects. Their perfection, translucence, and uncanny resemblance to human skulls evoke primal responses: awe, fear, curiosity, and reverence. The mind projects significance onto them, amplifying both wonder and anxiety. Still, even with this understanding, countless individuals assert that their experiences go beyond expectation, hinting at genuine phenomena that remain unexplained. Some scholars have proposed that the skull's curses or blessings are linked to electromagnetic or energetic anomalies. Tests with sensitive equipment have occasionally detected subtle fluctuations near the skulls, though results are inconsistent and often dismissed by mainstream science. Whether these observations are artifacts of human perception, experimental error, or evidence of unknown properties, they add another layer of intrigue. The skull's capacity to elicit both fear and fascination seems almost intentional, as if the objects themselves are designed to test the observer's intent. Human desire and hubris play a recurring role in these narratives. Those who sought the skulls for selfish gain often reported misfortune, while those who approached with curiosity or reverence sometimes described profound insights. This pattern mirrors the ancient warnings encoded in Mesoamerican lore. Intention matters, and respect is required. The skulls, silent and unyielding, appear to mirror the observer, reflecting both the light of human ambition and the shadows of folly. They are enigmatic judges, offering either blessing or curse, depending on the readiness and morality of those who engage with them. Modern examples continue to fuel speculation. A collector in the 20th century reported a series of strange events after acquiring a crystal skull. Lights flickered, electronic devices malfunctioned, and recurring dreams suggested a connection to ancient rituals. Researchers visiting the skull observed heightened sensations of presence and energy, often described as an almost conscious awareness emanating from the artifact. These experiences, though anecdotal, are striking in their consistency and intensity, reinforcing the notion that the skulls exert influence beyond simple observation. Even today, the debate persists. Are the crystal skulls cursed, bestowing misfortune upon those who misuse them? Or are they blessed, offering insight and knowledge to those who approach with humility? Perhaps the answer is neither, or both. The duality itself may be their greatest mystery, reflecting the complex interplay between object, culture, and human perception. They challenge belief, skepticism, and understanding, forcing observers to confront the limits of their comprehension and the depths of their desire. As we continue the journey, the question of blessing versus curse sets the emotional tone for the next phase of exploration. These are not mere artifacts to be cataloged and displayed. They are living enigmas, entwined with human emotion, ambition, and imagination. Each encounter, each legend, and each recorded phenomenon prepares us for deeper investigations, where science, history, and human experience collide in a tapestry of awe, danger, and revelation. The crystal skulls remain enigmatic, defying easy categorization and inviting us to ask the most human of questions. What is the price of knowledge, and what is the reward for humility? When the crystal skulls arrived in modern laboratories, the world of science prepared to confront what had long been relegated to legend. Highly trained experts in materials science, archaeology, and physics approached the skulls with anticipation and skepticism. Their goal was to uncover the truth behind these flawless artifacts. Were they products of ancient genius, modern deception, or something altogether unexplainable? Yet from the first moment, the skulls defied expectation, challenging even the most advanced methods of inquiry. Advanced imaging technologies revealed details invisible to the naked eye. High-resolution microscopes expose surfaces so polished and precise that conventional tools should have left imperfections. The teeth, jawlines, and eye sockets bore intricacy that seemed beyond human capability for the periods to which they were attributed. Even laser-guided instruments, designed to replicate perfection, failed to match the skull's subtle asymmetries, which paradoxically contributed to their lifelike realism. Scientists realized they were not merely observing artifacts. They were confronting a puzzle that strained the limits of comprehension. Chemical analysis of the crystal yielded more mysteries. Pure quartz, when naturally formed, usually contains inclusions, fractures, or minor imperfections. The skulls, however, displayed a uniformity that suggested deliberate refinement. Attempts to detect traces of modern cutting compounds or polishing agents were inconclusive. Some skulls even exhibited microfractures consistent with intentional shaping, yet there was no indication of conventional abrasion or grinding. These results baffled experts. Ancient civilizations are known for their skill, yet the methods required to achieve such precision appeared to exceed known technological capabilities of the time. Beyond the physical structure, laboratories encountered phenomena that bordered on the inexplicable. Sensitive electromagnetic detectors occasionally recorded subtle fluctuations near the skulls, while optical instruments noted unusual refraction patterns. Some researchers reported that human presence seemed to amplify these effects, creating brief sensations of warmth or vibration in proximity to the artifacts. While skeptics suggested psychological projection or experimental error, the consistency of these reports across different labs and continents hinted at something more enigmatic, a property intrinsic to the skulls themselves. Human responses in the lab mirrored those described by collectors and explorers. Scientists, even those trained in rational analysis, reported unease, heightened focus, or fleeting visions while handling the skulls. One materials physicist described the experience as standing in the presence of intention, a feeling that the object itself seemed aware of observation. These reactions echoed ancient warnings. The skulls were not passive artifacts, but active participants in the human experience. They demanded attention, humility, and respect, reflecting the intentions of both creator and observer. Some studies attempted replication under control conditions. Craftsmen, engineers, and jewelers employed every tool at their disposal, from rotary drills to diamond abrasives. But even modern technology struggled to reproduce the skull's lifelike detail and flawless polish. Every attempt revealed the same paradox. The skull's craftsmanship appeared simultaneously primitive and advanced, ancient in inspiration, yet modern in execution. These results fueled both awe and speculation, prompting some scientists to entertain theories that stretched beyond conventional understanding, including lost civilizations, unknown ancient technologies, or even extraterrestrial influence. The lab investigations also unveiled subtle inconsistencies among different skulls. While all shared a remarkable level of perfection, variations in style, technique, and detail suggested multiple origins or periods of creation. Some skulls bore characteristics consistent with Mesoamerican artistry, while others hinted at influences from entirely different cultural or temporal contexts. This diversity raised profound questions. Were these objects intentionally crafted by the same hand, replicated across generations, or perhaps created independently with a common underlying knowledge? The skulls, it seemed, were not only objects of mystery, but also messengers of questions that spanned time and geography. Security and ethical concerns became increasingly important. The skull's mystique had already attracted intense public interest, and laboratories took extraordinary precautions to protect them. Yet even in controlled environments, stories circulated of minor accidents, inexplicable equipment failures, and personal discomfort among researchers. While these events could be dismissed as coincidence or suggestion, they reinforced the aura surrounding the skulls, that they were powerful, unpredictable, and in some sense, alive within the human experience. The convergence of myth and science reached a remarkable peak when researchers compared modern analyses with historical accounts. Observations of perfection, subtle anomalies, and enigmatic qualities aligned strikingly with ancient legends of the skull's sacred properties. Could the stories of vision, warning, and influence have been based on direct human experience of the skull's physical and metaphysical characteristics? This possibility blurred the line between folklore and empirical science, suggesting that the legends may have preserved fragments of truth encoded in human memory over centuries. One of the most compelling moments occurred when a skull was subjected to advanced 3D scanning. The resulting digital model revealed microstructures and internal alignment that seemed to resonate with optical and electromagnetic theories not formally developed until centuries later. Some researchers speculated that the skulls could act as more than decorative artifacts. They might be instruments designed with intent to interact with energy, light, or human perception. While these hypotheses remain unproven, the implications are staggering. The skulls could represent knowledge or technology far beyond conventional historical understanding. Ultimately, the laboratory experience confirmed what collectors and explorers had long sensed. The crystal skulls are more than inert objects. They are catalysts of curiosity, obsession, and wonder. They challenge assumptions about history, human capability, and the nature of knowledge itself. Each test, each analysis, deepen the mystery rather than resolving it, creating a tension between empirical scrutiny and awe-inspiring enigma. The skulls remain a bridge between science and myth, between human ambition and ancient wisdom, forcing us to confront the limits of understanding while inspiring the imagination. As the lab doors close and researchers record their findings, one question persists. Why do these skulls continue to captivate, mystify, and challenge the human mind? The answer lies not only in their material composition, but in the stories, legends, and experiences intertwined with them. Science has illuminated their structure, but the essence of their mystery, their psychological, cultural, and possibly metaphysical resonance, remains intact. They are simultaneously a puzzle, a warning, and an invitation, encouraging humanity to explore both the outer world of material evidence and the inner world of perception, belief, and wonder. Long before the crystal skulls emerged in the hands of collectors and scientists, they existed in the shadows of human memory, embedded in the whispers of ancient civilizations. The Maya, the Aztec, and the Olmec left behind more than pyramids, glyphs, and ceremonial artifacts. They left behind stories, rituals, and warnings that spoke of objects capable of bridging the worlds of the living and the divine. Among these, the skulls held a particularly potent significance, serving as symbols of mortality, prophecy, and sacred knowledge. Archaeologists examining Mesoamerican sites discovered recurring motifs of skulls carved from stone and jade, suggesting a deep cultural fascination with the human cranium as a vessel of life, death, and wisdom. Within temples, altars, and ceremonial plazas, skulls were positioned with deliberate intent, aligned with celestial bodies, incorporated into ritualistic architecture, or used in divinatory practices. These arrangements indicate that ancient peoples understood skulls as more than symbolic imagery. They were functional elements of a spiritual and observational framework. The crystal skulls, in this context, may represent the pinnacle of this understanding, a culmination of centuries of sacred craftsmanship. The Maya, in particular, emphasized cycles of creation and destruction. In their cosmology, the skull symbolized transformation, the threshold between existence and the afterlife. Priests claimed to interpret omens through skulls, and certain legends suggest that some artifacts could speak through visions or dreams. Observers reported that the placement of skulls during rituals could influence agricultural outcomes, guide decisions in times of conflict, and even provide insight into celestial events. While modern science struggles to measure these effects, the consistency of historical accounts across regions and eras hints at an underlying system of knowledge encoded in ritual, symbolism, and possibly the artifacts themselves. The Olmec, often considered Mesoamerica's earliest advanced civilization, left behind colossal stone heads whose precise purpose remains debated. Among smaller artifacts, archaeologists have found skull-like carvings that suggest a similar reverence for the cranium as a vessel of power and identity. Some researchers propose that these early skulls were prototypes, precursors to the crystal versions later attributed to more recent civilizations. The craftsmanship, the alignment with ritual spaces, and a repeated incorporation into myth and ceremony indicate a deliberate design, one intended to preserve and convey information across generations. Aztec culture deepened the symbolic weight of skulls. The Tzompantli, or skull rack, displayed human remains in public ceremonies, reinforcing the omnipresence of death and the sacred cycle of life. Yet alongside these displays, oral histories recount skulls imbued with divine or protective qualities. Priests claimed that the careful observation of these skulls could provide guidance in warfare, harvest, and governance. Some skulls, fashioned from crystal or other rare materials, were considered repositories of ancestral knowledge, sacred conduits linking the present to the wisdom of past civilizations. Beyond their physical presence, the skulls functioned as mnemonic devices. In cultures with limited written language, artifacts served to encode memory, history, and ritual knowledge. The precise detailing of a skull's teeth, proportions, and symmetry may have conveyed cultural norms, spiritual beliefs, or cosmic observations. Some modern theorists suggest that crystal skulls, with their transparency and reflective surfaces, were intended to amplify observation, meditation, or altered states of consciousness. In this sense, they were tools as much as symbols designed to focus attention, enhance perception, and preserve understanding across generations. Legends suggest that these objects were carefully protected. Priests and elders passed down knowledge of their use only to initiates, embedding secrecy within ritual and oral tradition. The skulls were considered potent. Misused, they could bring misfortune. Revered, they could illuminate truth. Some stories recount that certain skulls disappeared for centuries, deliberately hidden to prevent human arrogance from corrupting their power. Others describe rediscovery under circumstances that seem orchestrated by fate, as though the skulls themselves guided their movement through time. The whispers of the ancients hint at a network of knowledge that extended far beyond individual civilizations. Similar motifs appear across cultures separated by geography and era. Skull symbolism, sacred geometry, and the alignment of artifacts with celestial events. Could the crystal skulls represent a shared human understanding of life, death, and the cosmos? Were they part of a broader system of ritual, science, and observation encoded in material form? These questions suggest that the skulls were more than curiosities. They were instruments designed to engage with both the human mind and the natural world. Even the etymology of certain Mesoamerican terms supports this interpretation. Words associated with skulls frequently intertwine notions of vision, knowledge, and prophecy. Priests were eyes of the gods, and skulls served as mirrors reflecting both the divine and human intention. In some codices, skull imagery accompanies records of celestial events, agricultural cycles, and historical transitions, reinforcing the idea that they were considered repositories of practical and spiritual wisdom. Modern interpretations often miss these subtleties, focusing on materiality rather than function. Yet the ancients treated skulls as active participants in the human experience. As European explorers and later collectors encountered these artifacts, many dismissed them as curiosities or exotic religious items. Yet the original context suggests something far deeper. The skulls were intentionally crafted to interact with humans, to encode knowledge, and to act as intermediaries between earthly life and transcendent understanding. Misinterpretation or neglect of this purpose may explain why the crystal skulls continued to inspire awe, fear, and speculation long after leaving their native lands. Their ability to provoke reaction, reflection, and obsession is not an accident. It is an echo of the ancients' intent. The whispers of the ancients, therefore, are not simply historical footnotes. They form the foundation for understanding the crystal skull's enduring mystery. They reveal a civilization's engagement with mortality, cosmic observation, and the preservation of knowledge. They suggest that the skulls are more than material objects. They are bridges between past and present, mundane and sacred, human and transcendent. Each artifact carries the weight of cultural memory, ritual practice, and ancestral intention, offering both insight and challenge to those who dare to engage with it. By studying the ancients, we begin to see that the mystery of the skulls is intertwined with human perception, intention, and reverence. These were objects designed not only to be seen, but to be experienced, contemplated, and respected. The echoes of ritual, legend, and careful craftsmanship ripple through time, connecting the past with modern observers, scientists, and dreamers. The crystal skulls remain enigmatic because they were never meant merely to exist. They were meant to interact, to provoke, and to teach, ensuring that the whispers of the ancients continue to resonate through the ages. The discovery of crystal skulls in remote archaeological sites often felt like stepping into a narrative of both wonder and danger. Unlike ordinary artifacts, these skulls were rarely found in plain sight. They emerged from hidden chambers, buried under layers of earth, or concealed within complex temple structures. Each unearthing carried a sense of destiny, as if the skulls themselves had chosen the moment and place to reveal their presence. Archaeologists and explorers reported a heightened tension in the air during these excavations, a quiet anticipation that something extraordinary awaited beneath the soil. In one striking instance, a skull was uncovered in a ceremonial chamber within an Olmec temple complex. The chamber had remained untouched for centuries, its walls decorated with faded glyphs and intricate carvings that hinted at ritual significance. The skull, carved from flawless crystal, rested on a stone pedestal at the center of the room. Its surface reflected the torchlight in a way that seemed almost conscious, casting shadows that danced along the ancient walls. The archaeologists present were overwhelmed by a mix of awe and unease, sensing that they had stumbled upon an artifact of profound importance. Excavations in other regions revealed similar patterns. Skulls were often accompanied by offerings, ceremonial tools, and glyphs suggesting that they were central to ritual practice. These contextual clues provided tantalizing hints about their intended use: divination, spiritual guidance, or as conduits for cosmic understanding. Yet despite the presence of accompanying artifacts, the skulls themselves remained singular in their perfection. No other item in the chamber matched their refinement, suggesting that they were considered supremely significant, objects of reverence above all else. The process of unearthing these skulls was rarely straightforward. Archaeologists often faced treacherous terrain, unpredictable weather, and logistical challenges in accessing remote temple sites. Dense jungles, rugged mountains, and hidden caves became part of the narrative, heightening the sense that the skulls were protected by both nature and fate. Local legends sometimes served as guides, pointing explorers toward hidden chambers or warning them of danger. Whether by coincidence or design, the act of discovery itself became a test of persistence, courage, and respect, echoing the warnings embedded in ancient lore. Once unearthed, the skulls continued to defy conventional understanding. Detailed examinations revealed craftsmanship that appeared impossible to achieve with tools available at the time. Microscope analysis showed precise carvings, polished surfaces, and internal structures that hinted at techniques not documented in Mesoamerican history. Some skulls exhibited internal channels and cavities, suggesting an understanding of resonance or acoustic properties. These features led some researchers to speculate that the skulls were not merely ceremonial objects, but instruments designed to interact with sound, light, or human consciousness in ways still unrecognized by modern science. The human response to these discoveries was profound. Archaeologists, explorers, and local communities often described a palpable energy surrounding the skulls, an invisible force that seemed to emanate from their crystalline form. Feelings of exhilaration, fear, and reverence coexisted, reflecting the duality embedded in the skull's legacy. Some researchers experienced sudden clarity, visions, or heightened intuition, while others reported discomfort, disorientation, or a sense of being observed. Whether psychological, spiritual, or supernatural, these responses reinforce the notion that the skulls were more than inert artifacts. They were active participants in human experience. In certain instances, the skulls appear to influence the context of their discovery. Hidden compartments, unexpected alignments with celestial markers, and coincidental timing with astronomical events suggested deliberate placement by ancient architects. Archaeologists began to consider the possibility that the skulls were integrated into complex systems of observation, ritual, and knowledge preservation. Their design and positioning may have been intended to amplify their significance, creating an interaction between artifact, environment, and human perception that modern scholars are only beginning to understand. Not all discoveries were peaceful or celebrated. Some skulls were reported missing soon after excavation, stolen from sites or private collections. Others became the center of legal disputes, ethical debates, or international controversy. These incidents underscore a recurring theme. The skulls are coveted not only for their craftsmanship, but for their symbolic and potentially metaphysical significance. Ownership carries responsibility and risk, mirroring ancient warnings that the skulls are objects demanding respect and ethical engagement. The pursuit of these artifacts continues to test human character, ambition, and morality. Scientific analysis often accompanied these excavations, bridging the worlds of archaeology and laboratory research. Advanced imaging techniques, such as CT scanning and X-ray diffraction, revealed hidden details within the skulls, internal cavities, microfractures, and traces of shaping that hinted at extraordinary craftsmanship. Chemical analysis confirmed the purity of the crystal, while comparative studies revealed subtle stylistic differences between skulls, suggesting multiple origins or creators. Each revelation added layers of complexity, deepening the mystery rather than resolving it, and reinforcing the idea that these were objects of intentional, extraordinary significance. The cultural context of unearthed skulls also offered insights into their function. Glyphs and carvings surrounding the skulls often depicted celestial phenomena, cycles of time, and ritualistic sequences. These contextual clues hint at a broader cosmology in which the skulls played a role, not simply as objects to be admired, but as instruments for observing, understanding, and participating in the universe. Some researchers hypothesize that the skulls are designed to amplify human consciousness, enabling insight into cycles of time, patterns of nature, or even spiritual dimensions. While speculative, such interpretations underscore the depth of human ingenuity and the potential sophistication of the civilizations that created them. Human fascination with unearthed skulls extends beyond academic interest. Local communities often maintain oral histories that preserve ancient beliefs about these artifacts. Stories recount the skull's protective or prophetic powers, reinforcing a cultural memory that transcends centuries. The consistency of these legends across regions and generations suggests that the skull's significance is not arbitrary, but a deliberate and enduring element of human culture. Each excavation is not only a scientific achievement, but a moment of continuity, linking contemporary observers with the consciousness of the past. Ultimately, the unearthing of crystal skulls illustrates a recurring pattern. They are discovered under conditions that test human perseverance, interpreted through lenses that mix science and myth, and experienced in ways that elicit profound emotional and intellectual responses. Each skull serves as a portal to both ancient wisdom and contemporary reflection, revealing a dialogue between past and present, artifact and observer. They remain mysteries in the truest sense, objects that defy simplistic categorization while offering insight into the ingenuity, spirituality, and ambition of their creators. As researchers continue to uncover new skulls, the narrative grows richer and more intricate. The artifact's material perfection, historical depth, and mysterious effects on humans intertwine to create a story that is both timeless and evolving. Unearthed secrets are not simply historical curiosities. They are touchstones for reflection on human aspiration, reverence for the unknown, and the eternal pursuit of knowledge. The crystal skulls, hidden beneath layers of earth for centuries, emerge as witnesses to civilizations long past and as catalysts for contemporary fascination, continuing to challenge, inspire, and confound those who dare to engage with them. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the crystal skulls had become objects of intense fascination and fierce competition. Wealthy collectors, explorers, and museums sought to acquire them, drawn not only by their beauty, but by the legends and mysteries that surrounded them. Ownership was not merely possession. It was a mark of prestige, an assertion of authority over an artifact whose allure transcended material value. Collectors often described the skulls as irresistible, as though the objects themselves exerted a subtle gravitational pull on those who encountered them. Auctions became battlegrounds of desire. European aristocrats, American industrialists, and adventurous academics competed to obtain the skulls, sometimes paying exorbitant sums. Behind each acquisition lay tales of daring travel, negotiation, and occasionally deception. One skull reportedly passed through several hands within months, each owner encountering minor misfortune, intense obsession, or inexplicable phenomena. Rumors circulated that those who acquired the skulls for selfish reasons often suffered consequences: financial ruin, social scandal, or personal misfortune, while those who approached with respect or curiosity reported profound insight or creative inspiration. The objects seem to demand not only attention, but moral engagement. Collectors often constructed elaborate displays to showcase the skulls, transforming libraries, salons, and museums into theatrical spaces. Crystal skulls were illuminated with candles, magnifying glasses, and strategically placed mirrors to enhance their translucence and create an ethereal aura. Visitors were captivated, reporting sensations of being observed or drawn into the gaze of the skulls. For collectors, these exhibitions reinforced status, fascination, and a narrative of power inherent in possession. Yet behind the grandeur, stories of obsession, rivalry, and psychological strain reveal a deeper human drama, one that echoes the warnings encoded in the artifacts themselves. The skull's allure extended beyond material possession. Some collectors believed they could unlock hidden knowledge, tapping into wisdom left by ancient civilizations. They conducted private experiments, meditation sessions, and rituals in the presence of the skulls, hoping to perceive visions, insights, or prophetic guidance. Success was subjective, and reports were often anecdotal, yet patterns emerged. Collectors frequently described moments of clarity, unexpected intuition, or emotional catharsis. Whether psychological or mystical, these experiences reinforced the skull's reputation as objects of both fascination and power. Rivalries over ownership could be intense. Competing collectors sometimes resorted to subterfuge, bribery, or theft to secure prized skulls. Accounts exist of skulls disappearing for years, reappearing under mysterious circumstances, and traveling across continents in secret. In some cases, legal disputes erupted over provenance, authenticity, and ethical rights. These conflicts highlight a recurring theme in the Crystal Skull saga. Human desire amplifies mystery. The objects themselves remain unchanged, yet the intensity of human obsession creates a narrative almost as compelling as the skull's intrinsic enigma. Certain collectors developed near-obsessive relationships with the skulls, treating them as companions, guardians, or teachers. Diaries and letters reveal individuals speaking to the artifacts, arranging them in ritualistic patterns, or spending hours in contemplation. One account describes a collector who experienced recurring dreams of ancient temples and rituals after acquiring a crystal skull, reporting vivid visions of ceremonies long past. The skull became a conduit to a world of history and spirituality, an object that demanded engagement on multiple levels: emotional, intellectual, and perhaps even spiritual. Museums, too, became arenas for obsession. Curators and scholars faced pressure to authenticate, display, and interpret skulls in ways that satisfied both public curiosity and academic rigor. Scientific analyses, while providing insight into material composition, rarely quelled speculation about origin, purpose, or power. Exhibitions drew thousands of visitors, each encounter adding another layer of human narrative to the objects. The skull's presence in cultural institutions transformed them from hidden relics to global icons, simultaneously elevating their status and intensifying the mystique surrounding them. The stories of obsession often carried an undertone of caution. Collectors reported strange phenomena: lights flickering, minor accidents, sudden chills, or fleeting visions during private interactions with skulls. While skeptics attributed these experiences to imagination or coincidence, the consistency across decades and locations was remarkable. The skulls seemed to reward attention and respect while testing ego and hubris, a pattern reminiscent of ancient warnings. They were both coveted and dangerous, embodying the duality of fascination and peril. Financial and social consequences of obsession were not uncommon. Some collectors squandered fortunes in pursuit of additional skulls or the perfect specimen. Others alienated family, friends, or colleagues through single-minded dedication. These human dramas added a psychological layer to the mystery, illustrating that the skull's influence extended beyond the material into the realm of human behavior and decision-making. In essence, they became mirrors, reflecting desire, ambition, and vulnerability in those who sought them. The obsession surrounding crystal skulls did not remain confined to private hands. Writers, journalists, and filmmakers soon became aware of these stories, documenting both the artifacts and the human dramas that accompanied them. Popular media amplified fascination, introducing the skulls to a global audience and inspiring new generations of collectors, explorers, and researchers. Legends evolved, blending historical fact, anecdotal experience, and imaginative interpretation, further entwining human obsession with the enduring mystery of the objects themselves. Even today, collectors continue to pursue crystal skulls with fervor. Auctions, private sales, and museum acquisitions ensure that the skulls remain coveted, prized, and sometimes feared. The psychological patterns observed a century ago persist. Obsession, reverence, ambition, and caution intertwine in the human response. The skull's allure lies not only in craftsmanship or historical significance, but in their capacity to provoke profound emotional and intellectual engagement, challenging the limits of understanding and desire. Ultimately, the collector's obsession illustrates a key aspect of the crystal skull phenomenon. Their power resides not solely in their material perfection, but in the interplay between artifact and observer. They are catalysts for ambition, curiosity, fear, and reverence. Each skull carries the weight of centuries of human fascination, demanding engagement, reflection, and sometimes restraint. In pursuing these objects, collectors confront their own desires, limitations, and vulnerabilities, revealing as much about humanity as about the skulls themselves. The legacy of collectors' obsession ensures that crystal skulls remain living enigmas. Their travels, ownership disputes, and intense human fascination contribute to a narrative that extends far beyond archaeological or scientific interest. They are objects that provoke, challenge, and inspire, reflecting the best and worst of human ambition. As we move forward in the story, the human obsession with these artifacts intersects with scientific investigation, myth, and the search for meaning, setting the stage for deeper revelations and astonishing discoveries yet to come. Beyond their flawless form and haunting presence, the crystal skulls have long been suspected of containing hidden knowledge, encoded messages left by their creators. Scholars, researchers, and enthusiasts have suggested that the artifacts may serve as vessels of information, deliberately crafted to communicate with the observant, the patient, and the wise. Whether these messages are symbolic, geometric, or metaphysical, the notion that skulls could hold secrets resonates with humanity's enduring fascination with mystery and discovery. Early examinations of the skulls revealed subtle patterns that defied coincidence. Minute grooves, microstriations, and irregularities in symmetry hinted at intentional design beyond mere decoration. Some researchers posited that these features formed a language of their own, a series of codes or signals that could be interpreted by those trained to read them. Others suggested that the skull's proportions and internal structures reflected advanced understanding of mathematics, sacred geometry, or resonance, encoding principles that ancient civilizations may have used to manipulate perception or convey knowledge across generations. Some theorists drew parallels between the skulls and the complex iconography found in Mesoamerican codices. Glyphs, patterns, and recurring symbols often accompanied skull imagery in ceremonial contexts, suggesting that the objects may have been part of a broader communication system. Could the skulls themselves carry this encoded language, translating ritual, cosmology, and science into material form? If so, the challenge for modern researchers was immense. To decode a message embedded in crystal, time, and human memory, a language that may have been designed to transcend conventional understanding. Optical experiments added another layer to this enigma. When exposed to light at certain angles, the crystal skulls refracted, reflected, or transmitted illumination in unusual patterns. Some observers reported seeing shapes, symbols, or fleeting images within the crystal itself. These phenomena were fleeting and subjective, yet consistent across multiple skulls and locations, suggesting that the creators may have intentionally exploited light to reveal hidden patterns. In this sense, the skulls could be considered early instruments of visual communication, merging artistry, science, and symbolism into a singular, enduring object. Acoustic resonance offers another tantalizing possibility. Some skulls contain internal cavities and channels, features that, when studied under controlled conditions, can alter sound waves passing through or around them. Certain researchers propose that chanting, vibration, or even ambient environmental sounds could interact with these cavities to produce effects on human perception or cognition. If intentional, this design would suggest a civilization with sophisticated understanding of physics, acoustics, and psychology, an advanced capability hidden within an object that appears, at first glance, to be a simple skull. Symbolism within the crystal structure also demands attention. The human skull itself carries profound cultural meaning, representing mortality, consciousness, and identity. By crafting these objects from crystal, a material associated with clarity, energy, and endurance, the creators may have intended to enhance their symbolic and practical effects. Every facet, every contour, and every imperfection or perfection could contribute to a layered system of communication, where human observation, intention, and interpretation are integral to the message's revelation. Attempts to decode these messages have been undertaken for decades. Scholars, mathematicians, and esoteric researchers have applied a variety of methodologies, from geometric analysis to intuitive interpretation, to discern patterns, numerical sequences, or symbolic alignments. Some results hint at correlations with astronomical cycles, mathematical constants, or metaphysical principles, while others remain speculative. Yet the very act of searching reinforces the notion that the skulls are not passive artifacts, but active participants in a dialogue between past and present. In addition to geometric and acoustic encoding, some researchers have considered the possibility of metaphorical or narrative messages. Could the skull's proportions, angles, and reflective surfaces be intended to provoke insight, meditation, or alter perception rather than convey literal information? Many who have studied the skulls report experiences of vision, understanding, or profound contemplation that suggest a functional purpose beyond physical craftsmanship. In this sense, the message may be experiential rather than textual, designed to be read through interaction, reflection, and engagement. Legends surrounding the skulls also hint at encoded wisdom. Indigenous oral traditions often describe skulls imparting guidance, knowledge of the cosmos, or spiritual clarity to those deemed worthy. Such narratives suggest that the artifacts were designed to be more than ceremonial. They were educational and mystical instruments, requiring intention, patience, and reverence. Whether these messages are symbolic, metaphysical, or encoded in the crystal itself. The recurring theme is clear. The skulls are vessels of understanding, demanding not only observation but insight. Modern technology continues to expand possibilities for decoding these messages. Advanced 3D scanning, high-resolution imaging, and computer modeling reveal intricate patterns invisible to the naked eye. Digital simulations allow researchers to manipulate light, sound, and perspective, uncovering relationships that may have been intentional. Even with these tools, however, the skulls retain their mystery. No single discovery provides a definitive answer, and each revelation raises further questions, reinforcing the notion that the creators intended their work to challenge, provoke, and inspire across time. The allure of encoded messages also fuels imagination and speculation. Writers, filmmakers, and theorists have proposed everything from alien instruction manuals to spiritual compendiums, merging fact and fiction in ways that expand the cultural resonance of the skulls. While these interpretations are often unverified, they underscore the skull's capacity to inspire human curiosity, creativity, and reflection. The pursuit of understanding becomes as important as the artifacts themselves, a journey that mirrors the original intention, to engage the observer in active exploration of knowledge, perception, and meaning. Ultimately, the encoded messages of the crystal skulls illustrate a recurring theme in their story. They're simultaneously material, symbolic, and interactive. They resist passive observation, requiring engagement, intention, and insight from those who encounter them. Each feature, geometric, optical, acoustic, or symbolic, may carry multiple layers of meaning, blending science, spirituality, and artistry. The skulls challenge assumptions about history, technology, and human capability, inviting observers to consider the possibility that knowledge can be hidden not only in text or artifact, but in the very experience of interaction itself. As the investigation into encoded messages deepens, the narrative of the crystal skulls expands. They are no longer simply artifacts of mystery or beauty. They are instruments of understanding, bridges between past and present, material and metaphysical. They compel humanity to observe, question, and reflect, offering wisdom in ways both subtle and profound. The search for meaning in these skulls continues to captivate, reminding us that some secrets are not merely discovered. They are experienced, interpreted, and lived. The journeys of the crystal skulls from their ancient origins to modern collections read like epic tales of exploration, ambition, and mystery. These artifacts did not simply remain in temples or hidden chambers. They traveled across continents, through jungles, oceans, and urban landscapes, carried by explorers, traders, and, at times, thieves. Each voyage added layers of intrigue, uncertainty, and human drama, transforming the skulls from sacred objects into legendary artifacts whose story intertwines with human ambition. One of the earliest recorded movements of a crystal skull occurred in the 19th century, when European explorers ventured deep into Mesoamerican ruins. Local guides spoke of hidden chambers and protective rituals, yet the skulls seemed to reveal themselves at precise moments, often in unexpected locations. Some explorers reported eerie coincidences, sudden storms, mislaid maps, and unanticipated obstacles that appeared to guard the treasures. The skull's discovery was rarely straightforward, and the artifacts seemed to test the resolve, character, and humility of those seeking them. Transporting these delicate and valuable objects presented significant challenges. Skulls were often carried in precarious conditions, across rough terrain, through dense jungles, and over unstable rivers. The fragility of crystal, combined with the intricacy of their craftsmanship, made them difficult to protect. Yet remarkably, many skulls survived centuries of transport intact, raising questions about whether their preservation was a product of careful handling or something more mysterious. Accounts describe shipments that encountered storms, shipwrecks, or theft attempts, yet the skulls emerged unscathed, as if guided by invisible hands. Voyages also exposed the skulls to diverse cultures and observers. European collectors, American industrialists, and local communities each interacted with the skulls differently, projecting their own beliefs, fears, and ambitions onto the artifacts. Stories abound of individuals experiencing visions, sudden insights, or inexplicable phenomena during these journeys. Some sailors reported feeling chills or sensing a presence aboard ship. Explorers navigating through jungles described dreams, hallucinations, or emotional intensity that seemed to accompany the skulls. These encounters reinforced the perception that the artifacts were more than passive objects. They were active participants in human experience. Skulls frequently changed hands during their journeys, often under circumstances that added to their mystique. They were stolen, gifted, sold, or hidden for safekeeping, sometimes vanishing for decades before resurfacing in unexpected locations. Each movement created a trail of human fascination, obsession, and speculation, as well as occasional misfortune. Rumors circulated that misdeeds or selfish intent during transport could provoke accidents or other consequences, echoing ancient warnings about the artifact's sacred power. In this way, the skull's journeys became intertwined with lessons about morality, respect, and human ambition. The transportation of crystal skulls also fostered collaboration and rivalry. Explorers often relied on local knowledge, negotiating with indigenous guides who understood the terrain and cultural significance of the artifacts. Rival expeditions sometimes competed to secure discoveries, leading to intrigue, espionage, and dramatic confrontations. Some skulls were lost for years due to disputes over ownership, while others were secreted away to private collections, only to re-emerge in the public eye decades later. These voyages were not merely logistical. They were narratives of human psychology, ambition, and the allure of the unknown. Scientific study accompanied many of these journeys, adding another dimension to their significance. As skulls moved from Mesoamerican sites to laboratories and museums, researchers conducted material analyses, structural examinations, and symbolic interpretations. Each voyage facilitated the accumulation of knowledge, yet also revealed more questions. Some skulls exhibited microfractures, internal channels, or unusual optical properties that defied explanation, suggesting a level of craftsmanship or understanding previously unrecognized. The skull's movement across continents ensured that every observer, from ancient priests to modern scientists, contributed to the evolving story of these enigmatic artifacts. The emotional impact of these voyages cannot be understated. Explorers frequently described an almost spiritual connection with the skulls, a sense that the artifacts themselves recognized intention and attention. Feelings of awe, fear, reverence, and curiosity often accompanied each leg of a journey, echoing the experiences reported by earlier indigenous communities. The skull's ability to provoke profound emotional responses underscores their enduring mystique and reinforces the notion that they were designed to interact with humans in ways that transcend mere physical presence. In some cases, voyages led to dramatic revelations. Hidden inscriptions, micro-carvings, or symbolic patterns were sometimes discovered only after transportation to well-equipped laboratories or exhibition spaces. The act of moving the skulls enabled new perspectives, both literally and figuratively. Lighting angles, positioning, and proximity to human observers could reveal previously unnoticed details, suggesting that the skulls were designed to be experienced dynamically, not simply stored or viewed statically. This interactivity, combined with centuries of travel, highlights the skull's complexity as both material objects and conveyors of mystery. Cultural exchange played a critical role in the skull's voyages. Each region and observer brought unique interpretations, blending local belief systems with emerging global narratives. Indigenous oral histories, European curiosity, and modern scientific analysis all contributed to a rich tapestry of understanding, sometimes conflicting, sometimes complementary. These exchanges amplified the skull's significance, ensuring that their story would be shaped not only by their origin, but by every human interaction along the way. Ultimately, the voyages of discovery reveal that the crystal skulls are more than artifacts. They are catalysts for human exploration, ambition, and reflection. Their journeys connect past and present, sacred ritual and modern obsession, mystery and knowledge. Every expedition, shipment, and examination adds depth to their story, underscoring their role as active participants in human history. The skull's ability to inspire awe, provoke curiosity, and challenge understanding demonstrates that their power lies not only in creation, but in movement, interaction, and the endless quest to uncover their secrets. As the skulls continue their global journeys through museums, private collections, and scientific institutions, the question remains, what is the purpose of these travels, and who truly benefits from their revelations? The artifacts seem to demand that observers engage with them, to follow them across continents, through history, and into the depths of human imagination. Each voyage reinforces the skull's dual nature. They are simultaneously objects of beauty, repositories of knowledge, and catalysts of human emotion. The story of these travels prepares us for the next chapter. As the skulls move into new hands and new contexts, the interplay of history, science, and human perception intensifies. Their journeys are never merely physical. They're also journeys of discovery, curiosity, and transformation. The crystal skulls, through every voyage, continue to captivate, challenge, and inspire, leaving behind trails of mystery, awe, and anticipation for the next observer who dares to follow in their path. The mystery of the crystal skulls is not confined to Mesoamerica. Across continents and cultures, remarkably similar motifs and myths appear, suggesting that the skull's enigma resonates far beyond their original origin. In South America, Europe, Asia, and even Africa, oral traditions, artifacts, and symbolic imagery hint at objects of extraordinary power, crafted from crystal or other rare materials. These parallels raise profound questions. Are the crystal skulls unique creations, or do they reflect a shared human fascination with life, death, and the sacred? In South America, for example, ancient Andean civilizations revered objects carved from crystal and quartz. These items were associated with spiritual guidance, ancestral communication, and the regulation of natural cycles. Chroniclers described priests using polished stones to receive visions or interpret celestial patterns. While the forms differed from Mesoamerican skulls, the underlying themes were strikingly similar: clarity, reflection, and the bridging of human and divine understanding. Could these parallels indicate independent invention or a lost global network of ritual knowledge? Across Europe, legends of crystal skulls and mystical stones occasionally surface in medieval manuscripts and folklore. Monasteries and abbeys sometimes preserved skull-like relics, attributing them with protective or prophetic powers. In some accounts, monks described visions or messages received while meditating near these objects. The consistency of these motifs, skulls, crystal, and revelation, raises compelling questions about the universality of the skull's symbolism. Even if European skulls were created independently, their resonance with Mesoamerican artifacts suggests that human cultures intuitively recognize the skull as a vessel of knowledge, power, and spiritual insight. Asia provides further evidence of global fascination with crystal and skull symbolism. In Tibet and India, crystal objects, often shaped into spheres or sacred geometrical forms, were used for meditation, divination, and spiritual connection. Some practices incorporated human-like forms or symbols representing mortality and consciousness. Though these artifacts are not identical to Mesoamerican skulls, the conceptual parallels are striking. Across different continents, civilizations independently sought to harness crystal as a conduit for insight, vision, and transformation, a testament to the shared human quest for understanding the mysteries of existence. Africa, too, offers intriguing examples. Certain ancient tribes employed quartz and crystal objects in rituals designed to commune with ancestors or divine forces. These artifacts were believed to amplify spiritual perception and provide guidance in critical decisions. While the designs varied, the recurring theme is clear. Crystal, carefully shaped, is regarded as a bridge between realms, a tool for understanding forces beyond ordinary human comprehension. This echoes the purported function of the Mesoamerican crystal skulls, further reinforcing the idea of universal human fascination with mortality, consciousness, and transcendent knowledge. Some theorists have proposed that these similarities are not mere coincidence. Could there have been knowledge shared across cultures through trade routes, migration, or even lost civilizations now forgotten? Perhaps ancient societies understood principles that modern archaeology is only beginning to recognize. The physical, symbolic, and even metaphysical properties of crystal, the significance of human form in symbolic communication, and the interplay between perception and meaning. The convergence of these elements across continents suggests an underlying, almost universal human insight encoded in material form. Legends surrounding crystal artifacts often converge on the idea of protection, prophecy, and transformation. Across different cultures, these objects are described as capable of imparting wisdom, foretelling events, or guarding sacred knowledge. Many stories share a common motif. The artifact is dangerous if misused, rewarding the respectful and diligent, yet punishing the arrogant or unworthy. Such narratives mirror the experiences of Mesoamerican priests and modern collectors alike, emphasizing the skull's dual role as both coveted treasure and moral litmus test. Anthropologists and historians studying these parallels are struck by the repetition of certain symbolic elements: reflective surfaces, transparency, geometric precision, and human form. Even if the exact function of these objects differs, the shared symbolic language cannot be ignored. These patterns suggest that the skull, whether literal or metaphorical, is universally recognized as a repository of consciousness, memory, and power. By examining global legends, scholars begin to see that the crystal skulls are part of a larger, cross-cultural conversation about life, death, and the pursuit of knowledge. Modern fascination often focuses on the Mesoamerican skulls, but the global context enriches their story. Each parallel legend, artifact, or myth serves as a reminder that human curiosity and reverence for the unknown transcend borders and epochs. When the skulls are placed within this worldwide tapestry, they're no longer isolated curiosities, They become central nodes in a network of human striving, imagination, and spiritual pursuit. The mystery is amplified, not diminished, by the recognition that other cultures, separated by distance and time, express strikingly similar awe for crystal in human form. The cross-cultural patterns raise profound philosophical questions. Why does the skull emerge so consistently as a symbol of insight, mortality, and connection with higher knowledge? Why is crystal, a material both fragile and enduring, so often chosen as the medium for these objects? The answers remain elusive, but the patterns themselves suggest an innate human recognition of form, material, and symbolic power, a shared language that transcends geography, technology, and time. In exploring these legends across continents, we also encounter modern interpretations, blending science, spirituality, and imagination. Researchers attempt to reconcile physical properties, historical context, and anecdotal experience, while enthusiasts and mystics explore visions, meditations, and insights in the presence of these artifacts. The skulls become catalysts for cross-cultural understanding, philosophical inquiry, and human reflection, offering not answers alone, but pathways to deeper engagement with the mysteries of existence. Ultimately, the legends across continents illustrate a profound truth. Crystal skulls, whether Mesoamerican or found elsewhere, occupy a unique place at the intersection of material, symbolic, and human experience. They are not isolated curiosities, but elements of a global fascination with consciousness, mortality, and the pursuit of wisdom. Each culture that encountered, revered, or created such artifacts contributed to an enduring story, a tapestry of human curiosity and reverence woven across time and space. By tracing these connections, we begin to see the crystal skulls not merely as objects of historical intrigue, but as mirrors reflecting humanity's universal search for understanding, transcendence, and meaning. The skull's resonance across continents reminds us that the mystery they embody is simultaneously ancient, global, and profoundly human, a story that continues to unfold with every discovery, voyage, and encounter. Despite centuries of myth, legend, and speculation, crystal skulls eventually entered the realm of modern science. Laboratories, universities, and independent researchers turned their attention to these enigmatic artifacts, seeking to understand their composition, craftsmanship, and potential properties. What emerged from these studies was as startling as any legend. The skulls often defy conventional explanation, challenging assumptions about ancient technology, human skill, and the limits of possibility. Early scientific investigation focused on the material itself, pure quartz crystal. Laboratory analysis confirmed the exceptional quality of the stones, noting an extraordinary lack of inclusions or fractures. The skulls were carved from single blocks of crystal, a feat difficult to achieve even with modern tools, and polished to a precision that seemed almost impossible without advanced technology. Microscopic examination revealed marks inconsistent with hand tools available to pre-Columbian civilizations, sparking debates over whether they represented lost techniques, extraordinary craftsmanship, or something entirely beyond contemporary understanding. Researchers were particularly fascinated by the internal structures. Some skulls contained tiny cavities, internal channels, or minute-hollowed areas that appeared deliberate. Acoustic experiments suggested that these features could influence sound resonance in ways previously unimagined. When subjected to vibrations or specific frequencies, certain skulls produced tonal qualities that could affect human perception. While skeptics dismissed these findings as coincidence, repeated experiments indicated consistent patterns, fueling the idea that these artifacts might have been designed to interact with their environment and observers in subtle, intentional ways. The optical properties of crystal skulls also defy conventional explanation. When illuminated, the surfaces refract light in precise patterns, sometimes casting unusual reflections or revealing faint internal formations. Advanced imaging techniques revealed features invisible to the naked eye, microfacets, symmetrical alignments, and subtle geometries that suggest knowledge of optics and light manipulation far beyond the assumed capabilities of their creators. Scientists found themselves asking uncomfortable questions. Could these artifacts have been designed to transmit information, amplify perception, or even serve as primitive lenses or visual instruments? Beyond material properties, the skulls also challenge our understanding of human skill. Traditional carving methods available to Mesoamerican civilizations were rudimentary by modern standards, yet the crystal skulls exhibit unparalleled precision, symmetry, and polish. Experiments using contemporary hand tools fail to replicate the results, while modern laser or rotary equipment can achieve similar effects, but lacks the subtle imperfection that suggests intentional artistry. The skulls straddle the boundary between impossibility and intention, inspiring both admiration and disbelief. Even chemical analysis offers surprises. Trace elements detected within the crystal sometimes suggest non-local sourcing or advanced refinement techniques. Some researchers propose that the stones underwent processes lost to history, methods for achieving uniform clarity, internal stress reduction, or surface perfection that remain speculative. The skulls force scientists to confront an uncomfortable question. Did ancient civilizations possess technological knowledge that has been irretrievably lost, or are these artifacts anomalies, exceptions, or even forgeries? The question of authenticity has long divided the field. Some skulls, particularly those that entered private collections in the 19th and 20th centuries, have been shown to bear marks of modern tool use. Yet others, studied under strict laboratory conditions, retain features that cannot be explained by known techniques. The disparity challenges researchers to balance skepticism with open inquiry, acknowledging that some skulls may be modern creations while others remain genuine, enigmatic relics of unknown origin. The science of the impossible lies in navigating this ambiguity, accepting uncertainty while probing for evidence, patterns, and understanding. Psychological and physiological responses further complicate the scientific narrative. Individuals interacting with crystal skulls report a range of experiences: heightened perception, emotional intensity, visions, or inexplicable intuition. While some suggest these reactions are subjective, experiments demonstrate surprisingly consistent patterns. Certain people consistently report altered states of consciousness, enhanced focus, or even vivid imagery while observing or handling the skulls. The possibility that these artifacts influence human cognition, whether through symbolism, expectation, or subtle physical properties, remains a tantalizing avenue of inquiry. The skulls have also attracted interdisciplinary study. Physicists, material scientists, anthropologists, and psychologists all engage with the artifacts, examining different facets of their mystery. Each discipline contributes unique insights, yet none fully resolves the enigma. The intersection of empirical measurement, historical context, and human perception transforms the crystal skulls into more than objects of study. They become catalysts for interdisciplinary exploration, challenging assumptions about the relationship between technology, art, and consciousness. Even when science cannot provide definitive answers, the skull's influence persists. Laboratories become stages for wonder, museums for awe, and private studies for discovery. Observers confront the limits of knowledge, encountering the unexpected at every turn. This confrontation with the impossible reflects the skull's enduring legacy. They challenge not only assumptions about the past, but our understanding of human potential, creativity, and the interaction between mind, matter, and meaning. In the end, the science of the impossible illustrates a fundamental truth about crystal skulls. They resist simple explanation, defying categorization, expectation, and conventional understanding. Each measurement, experiment, and observation adds depth to the mystery, while reminding us that some artifacts transcend purely physical or historical significance. They are simultaneously objects of material precision, repositories of cultural and symbolic power, and triggers for human imagination, curiosity, and wonder. As the skulls continue to be studied, they compel us to reconsider the boundaries of possibility. Their precise craftsmanship, subtle internal features, and profound effects on human observers suggest that they occupy a unique space in history, a nexus of material, symbolic, and experiential knowledge. Science may illuminate aspects of their composition, yet the full scope of their meaning, purpose, and potential impact remains tantalizingly just beyond reach, preserving the aura of mystery that has captivated explorers, collectors, and scholars for centuries. The journey into the science of the impossible prepares the stage for the next chapter, a confrontation with evidence, experimentation, and the blurred line between skepticism and belief. As researchers, historians, and enthusiasts continue to probe the skulls, they confront not only the artifacts themselves, but the limits of human understanding, forcing a reevaluation of what is achievable, imaginable, and knowable. Beyond science, speculation, and human obsession lies another realm where crystal skulls exert influence, a realm of the mystical, the spiritual, and the profoundly symbolic. Across centuries, indigenous communities, shamans, and spiritual practitioners have described interactions with crystal artifacts as more than physical experience. They speak of communication, guidance, and subtle transmissions of knowledge. These whispers of the ancients, though elusive, are central to the enduring power and allure of the skulls. Many Mesoamerican traditions describe skulls as conduits between worlds. In ritual contexts, priests and shamans reportedly engaged with them during ceremonies designed to seek insight, guidance, or prophecy. The skulls were not mere symbols, but active participants in sacred observances. Some accounts detail extended periods of meditation in their presence, during which practitioners experienced visions of ancestral lineages, cosmic events, or guidance in matters of community and governance. These narratives emphasize the skull's dual nature. They are simultaneously material objects and vessels of consciousness, linking the mortal with the divine. Beyond Mesoamerica, whispers of similar experiences appear globally. In South America, crystal spheres and skull-like forms were integrated into shamanic practices, used to focus energy, facilitate trance states, and communicate with spiritual entities. In Asia, particularly within Tibetan and Himalayan traditions, crystal objects were employed in meditation and divination, believed to amplify perception and channel universal wisdom. Africa, too, preserves oral traditions in which crystal or quartz artifacts serve as intermediaries between the living and ancestral spirits. Across continents, a consistent theme emerges. Crystal, shaped into human or symbolic forms, is regarded as a medium of communication, perception, and transformation. One of the most compelling aspects of these mystical interactions is the experiential nature of knowledge. The crystal skulls appear to respond to intention, reverence, and focus. Shamans and spiritual practitioners often describe heightened awareness, profound clarity, or insights that feel both deeply personal and universally significant. Unlike textual knowledge, this form of understanding is experiential, intangible, and transformative, emphasizing that the skull's power may not reside solely in material composition, but in their capacity to mediate human perception and consciousness. Accounts of these experiences are often anecdotal, yet remarkably consistent. Practitioners report sensations of energy, subtle shifts in perception, or the feeling of presence, an awareness that seems to emanate from the crystal itself. Some describe hearing whispers, seeing visions of past events, or receiving guidance on decisions impacting communities. These experiences suggest that the skulls function as amplifiers of intention and awareness, bridging the gap between material reality and spiritual insight. Whether the source of these phenomena is metaphysical, psychological, or a combination remains open to interpretation, yet the human impact is undeniable. The symbolic resonance of the skull enhances these experiences. In nearly every culture, the human skull represents mortality, consciousness, and identity. By crafting skulls from crystal, ancient civilizations may have deliberately combined physical transparency with symbolic potency, creating artifacts that invite reflection on life, death, and the nature of existence itself. The skull's translucence allows light to penetrate and refract, creating an almost living quality, while their form evokes the most personal and universal human experience, the fragile, enduring, and enigmatic nature of consciousness. Whispers of the ancients often intersect with modern encounters. Contemporary spiritual practitioners, seekers, and even scientists engaged in meditation report experiences echoing those described in historical accounts. They speak of visions, intuitive insights, or profound emotional responses in the presence of crystal skulls. Some claim that the artifacts facilitate a sense of timelessness, connecting observer and object across centuries, linking modern human experience to ancestral wisdom. These parallels suggest that the skull's influence may not be bound by era, culture, or belief system. They interact with the human mind and spirit on a fundamental level. The skull's mystical reputation has inspired modern rituals and gatherings. Ceremonies often involve placing skulls in specific orientations, aligning them with light sources, or using sound and vibration to amplify perceived effects. Observers report that intention, reverence, and focus are critical. Those who approach with humility and curiosity may experience subtle insights or profound emotional impact, while those motivated solely by ego or acquisition often report indifference, discomfort, or misfortune. This duality reinforces the recurring motif. The crystal skulls demand respect and engagement, rewarding intention while cautioning against selfish or careless interaction. Cultural and spiritual interpretations often suggest that the skulls encode ancestral wisdom. Indigenous traditions hint that they carry knowledge of cosmology, agriculture, healing, or social governance, passed down through material form rather than written language. By meditating, interacting, or even simply observing the skulls, practitioners may access this embedded knowledge, bridging temporal, cultural, and spiritual divides. These interpretations expand our understanding of the skulls beyond aesthetic or scientific fascination. They become repositories of human experience, memory, and understanding, preserved across generations through form, material, and ritual. The concept of resonance appears repeatedly in mystical accounts. Some spiritual practitioners describe vibrations, felt physically or emotionally, that emanate from the skulls during specific interactions. These vibrations are often interpreted as a form of communication, a subtle transmission of knowledge or energy from creator to observer. While difficult to measure objectively, repeated anecdotal evidence suggests that human perception is consistently affected by proximity, intention, and focus. This raises profound questions. Are the skulls designed to interface with consciousness, or does human perception naturally resonate with their form and material, eliciting experiences interpreted as mystical? The whispers of the ancients also include cautionary lessons. Myths and oral traditions frequently emphasize ethical engagement. The skulls reward patience, humility, and reverence, while punishing arrogance, greed, or ignorance. Stories recount explorers or collectors experiencing misfortune after attempting to exploit or disrespect the skulls, reinforcing the notion that their power is intertwined with human morality and intention. These lessons extend beyond superstition. They suggest that the artifacts function as both mirrors and teachers, reflecting human behavior while guiding understanding. Modern science and mystical interpretation occasionally converge. Researchers exploring the skull's acoustic, optical, and structural properties find that interaction with light, sound, and human perception can provoke subtle physiological or cognitive responses. While skeptics attribute these effects to expectation or suggestion, the consistency of reports across cultures and centuries is striking. Whether interpreted scientifically, spiritually, or psychologically, these phenomena highlight the skull's capacity to affect human experience in profound and enduring ways, bridging rational inquiry and mystical insight. Ultimately, the whispers of the ancients remind us that crystal skulls are more than historical artifacts or objects of curiosity. They are conduits, amplifiers, and mirrors of human consciousness, carrying the weight of ritual, symbolism, and experience across centuries. Each interaction, whether in a remote jungle temple, a European laboratory, or a modern spiritual gathering, reveals layers of meaning, insight, and emotional resonance. Their power resides not merely in material, but in the human engagement they inspire. The skull's mystical allure prepares the narrative for a deeper exploration of consequences and revelation. They challenge the observer to question what is real, what is perceived, and what lies beyond conventional understanding. By honoring the whispers of the ancients, humanity glimpses the possibility that these artifacts are more than objects. They are active participants in the unfolding story of consciousness, culture, and the enduring human quest for knowledge. The next chapter continues this journey, transitioning from mystical resonance to the consequences of obsession, revealing how encounters with the skulls shape human history, emotion, and destiny. It will examine the human cost of fascination, the moral dilemmas, and the profound transformations that occur when material, mystical, and psychological forces converge around these enigmatic artifacts. Human fascination with crystal skulls has never been purely academic or aesthetic. From the moment explorers, collectors, and shamans first encountered these artifacts, the skulls have inspired intense obsession, sometimes leading to revelation, other times to misfortune. The consequences of this fascination reveal a duality. The skulls can elevate understanding, perception, and spiritual insight, yet they can also expose the vulnerability of human ambition, greed, and ego. Throughout history, stories abound of individuals whose lives were irrevocably altered after coming into contact with crystal skulls. Early European explorers reported sudden shifts in fortune, inexplicable accidents, and recurring dreams after securing possession of these artifacts. Some believed the skulls carried protective power, granting insight or safeguarding against danger. Others, however, experienced mysterious setbacks, lost expeditions, financial ruin, or personal crises, leading to whispers that the skulls exacted a form of cosmic justice. These contrasting outcomes highlight an essential theme. Interaction with the skulls is not neutral, it is transformative. Collectors in the 19th and 20th centuries often fell victim to their own desire. Tales describe heated disputes over ownership, secretive acquisitions, and dangerous travels undertaken in pursuit of the skulls. Some individuals reportedly hoarded skulls for prestige or profit, only to encounter accidents, theft, or betrayal. The artifacts' journeys, which seemed guided by unseen forces, suggested that their purpose might extend beyond material possession. They appeared to test intention, rewarding those who approached with respect and curiosity while exposing the vulnerabilities of those motivated by ego or greed. Explorers who engaged with local communities during expeditions often discovered moral lessons embedded within the experience. Indigenous guides frequently warned of spiritual consequences, cautioning that the skulls were sacred vessels, not commodities. These admonitions were not empty superstition. Repeated historical accounts suggest that those who ignored such advice encountered misfortune, confusion, or profound psychological disturbance. The artifacts seem to enforce ethical engagement, blending human morality with mystical consequence. A striking example of the interplay between culture, spirituality, and human behavior. The fascination with crystal skulls also led to profound scientific, artistic, and spiritual breakthroughs. Researchers, artists, and mystics describe moments of heightened perception, revelation, or clarity inspired by sustained interaction with the skulls. These effects underscore the dual nature of consequence. Obsession can lead to harm if driven by selfish desire, yet can also catalyze insight and innovation if guided by curiosity, reverence, and disciplined inquiry. The skulls act as both catalyst and mirror, reflecting the intentions and character of those who engage with them. Psychologically, the skull's influence is striking. Modern observers often report intense emotional responses, ranging from awe and inspiration to fear and discomfort. These reactions are not merely anecdotal. Studies suggest that objects of unusual symmetry, craftsmanship, or symbolic resonance can provoke deep cognitive and emotional effects. The skulls, with their human form, crystalline material, and cultural weight, amplify these effects, serving as both triggers and guides for human perception. Consequences, therefore, extend beyond physical or material danger. They include shifts in consciousness, emotional intensity, and even moral reflection. Historical case studies illuminate the cost of obsession. Some explorers, driven by desire for fame or wealth, ignored local knowledge, ethical guidelines, or personal well-being. Journals, letters, and oral accounts describe mounting stress, interpersonal conflict, and sometimes tragic outcomes. Conversely, individuals who approach the skulls with patience, respect, and curiosity often experience profound insight, spiritual awakening, or creative breakthroughs. These patterns suggest that the skulls operate as instruments of human development. They challenge, provoke, and reward in proportion to the observer's intention and engagement. The consequences of fascination extend into modern times. Private collectors, scientists, and spiritual practitioners frequently report challenges that accompany engagement with the skulls. Obsession can lead to isolation, conflict, or tunnel vision, yet can also deepen understanding, foster collaboration, and inspire new avenues of exploration. The skull's influence is paradoxical. They reveal both the best and worst aspects of human nature, acting as tests of character, resolve, and humility. Their legacy is a mirror, reflecting the qualities, intentions, and moral compass of those who seek to possess or understand them. Myth and legend amplify these consequences. Indigenous narratives frequently depict the skulls as sentient or semi-sentient, capable of rewarding insight while punishing arrogance. Stories describe explorers or collectors who experienced sudden reversals of fortune, bizarre accidents, or personal crises after mishandling or misunderstanding the artifacts. In contrast, those who approached the skulls with humility often reported visions, guidance, or profound clarity. These recurring themes suggest that fascination with the skulls is inseparable from responsibility, ethics, and intention, a lesson repeated across centuries and cultures. Artistic engagement also reveals consequences. Many artists, inspired by the skulls, report heightened creativity, innovative expression, and insight into symbolism or geometry. The skulls appear to act as catalysts, provoking reflection on life, mortality, and consciousness. Yet this inspiration is not without cost. Some artists describe periods of obsession, isolation, or psychological strain, mirroring historical patterns of human interaction with powerful, enigmatic artifacts. The skull's influence is subtle, yet persistent, shaping thought, emotion, and expression across disciplines. Even scientific inquiry carries consequences. Researchers who devote years to studying the skulls often experience professional tension, skepticism, and social isolation. Pursuing the unknown challenges established paradigms, inviting criticism while demanding intellectual courage. The skull's role as catalyst of obsession is evident in both history and contemporary study. They provoke human engagement, reward insight, and simultaneously test patience, resilience, and ethical judgment. Their influence is transformative, shaping not only understanding of the artifacts themselves, but the character and perspective of those who investigate them. Ultimately, the consequences of fascination underscore the skull's role as active participants in human experience. They are not passive objects to be owned, analyzed, or displayed. They are catalysts for ethical reflection, spiritual insight, emotional intensity, and cognitive exploration. Every interaction carries potential reward and risk, and each observer's outcome depends on intention, character, and approach. This duality, danger and insight, obsession and enlightenment, is central to their enduring power. As history, legend, and modern experience demonstrate, fascination with crystal skulls is never neutral. The artifacts test human ambition, morality, and curiosity, simultaneously offering profound insight and imposing subtle or overt consequences. Their story reminds us that engagement with the unknown is both privilege and responsibility, and that objects of power carry influence beyond their material presence. The skulls demand reflection, humility, and reverence, challenging the observer to rise to their level of mystery, wisdom, and consequence. The narrative of consequence sets the stage for the next section, a deep dive into the enduring mysteries and unresolved questions that continue to surround the skulls. As fascination persists, the skull's ability to provoke awe, inquiry, and introspection ensures that their story remains active, compelling, and unresolved, bridging past, present, and future in a continuum of human curiosity and experience. As fascination with crystal skulls deepened, the quest to uncover their hidden truths became a journey into overlapping realms of history, science, and speculation. For centuries, explorers, collectors, and researchers have attempted to piece together a coherent narrative, tracing origin, purpose, and meaning. Yet, despite every excavation, laboratory test, and scholarly study, the skulls continue to guard their secrets, revealing fragments while concealing the full story. The process of unraveling these truths is as revealing as the artifacts themselves, illuminating not only the mysteries of the skulls, but also the limits and nature of human understanding. The first layer of hidden truth lies in origin. While many skulls are attributed to Mesoamerican civilizations, such as the Maya or Aztec, evidence often contradicts these claims. Some skulls bear marks suggesting advanced techniques, inconsistent with known Pre-Columbian tools. Others emerge in contexts disconnected from ancient sites, appearing in private collections without clear provenance. The challenge of tracing origin highlights the interplay between myth, documentation, and human intervention. Even a century of careful archaeological study leaves gaps, inviting speculation and opening the possibility that some skulls are not merely lost artifacts, but expressions of knowledge from a civilization whose methods we have yet to fully understand. Provenance, or the history of ownership, adds complexity. The movement of skulls across continents through trade, theft, or gift has often obscured origin while layering new narrative threads onto the artifacts. Each new owner contributes to the mythos, consciously or unconsciously, whether by documenting discovery, conducting experiments, or engaging in spiritual practice. These narratives intermingle with historical events, such as colonial expeditions, scientific exploration, and cultural exchange, creating a rich but tangled web. The hidden truths of the skulls cannot be separated from the human histories they intersect with. Their journey across time and space is itself a critical aspect of understanding. Scientific inquiry attempts to strip away legend in pursuit of empirical data. Techniques such as X-ray analysis, spectroscopy, and electron microscopy provide detailed insights into composition, carving marks, and material properties. Researchers have confirmed the remarkable quality of the crystal, its unusual internal structures, and the precision of its shaping. Yet even these objective measures reveal contradictions. Some skulls appear technologically impossible to carve with known tools, while others bear clear signs of modern fabrication. The hidden truth is thus partially revealed, partially obscured. The skulls invite interpretation while resisting conclusive categorization. The skull's symbolic and cultural significance further complicates uncovering hidden truths. Anthropologists note that human societies frequently assign power to objects, imbuing them with meaning, reverence, or fear. The crystal skulls exemplify this phenomenon, serving as vessels of human imagination, belief, and cultural projection. Even when provenance and material are understood, the interpretive layer, the spiritual, symbolic, and psychological dimensions, remains difficult to quantify. The hidden truths are therefore multidimensional, empirical, historical, and experiential, interwoven with human consciousness and cultural frameworks. Legends, both ancient and modern, contribute fragments of truth while amplifying mystery. Stories of lost chambers, protective rituals, and unexplained phenomena encourage continued inquiry, but also blur factual certainty. Accounts of visions, psychic resonance, and inexplicable events intersect with empirical studies, creating a landscape where skepticism and belief must coexist. Scholars navigate a delicate balance, acknowledging anecdotal and mystical accounts without compromising scientific rigor. This tension is central to the skull's allure. They exist in a liminal space, bridging objective analysis and subjective experience. Some researchers propose alternative theories to reconcile contradictions. Advanced craftsmanship might reflect forgotten or suppressed technologies, The skulls might have been tools for ritualized observation or energy manipulation, or some could be deliberate modern forgeries intended to provoke fascination. Each theory offers partial insight, yet leaves significant gaps, reinforcing the notion that hidden truths are rarely fully accessible. The skulls demand patience, creativity, and interdisciplinary investigation, challenging historians, scientists, and spiritual seekers to consider multiple layers of reality simultaneously. Psychological dimensions add yet another layer to the hidden truths. Human perception is shaped by expectation, culture, and emotional context. Encounters with skulls provoke intense cognitive and emotional responses, which can enhance insight or amplify legend. Repeated observations across cultures and centuries suggest that these responses are not entirely subjective. The artifact's form, material, and cultural weight seem to interact with human consciousness in consistent ways, suggesting that hidden truths extend beyond physical composition into experiential and relational domains. The interplay of history, science, and perception is further complicated by secrecy and misinformation. Some skulls have been manipulated, misrepresented, or miscatalogued, intentionally or inadvertently, obscuring details critical to understanding. For example, ownership disputes, incomplete documentation, or selective reporting in publications can distort knowledge, adding layers of ambiguity. These factors underscore the difficulty of unraveling hidden truths. The story of the skulls is not purely external. It is mediated by human action, motivation, and interpretation. Despite these challenges, efforts to uncover hidden truths continue to yield profound insights. Advances in imaging, dating techniques, and cross-cultural analysis allow researchers to compare skulls, trace material sources, and identify subtle patterns in construction. Some features once thought anomalous now suggest intentional design choices, while others remain inexplicable. Even when the full story eludes capture, these discoveries illuminate aspects of ancient craftsmanship, ritual practice, and human imagination, providing fragments of truth that contribute to a deeper, if incomplete, understanding. The pursuit of hidden truths is also a human journey. Each researcher, explorer, or observer contributes a layer to the evolving narrative, interpreting artifacts through the lens of knowledge, intuition, and curiosity. In this way, the skull's mysteries are not only objects to be deciphered, they are mirrors reflecting our attempts to understand history, consciousness, and the limits of human knowledge. Their secrets are dynamic, shaped by both the artifacts themselves and the persistent efforts of those who engage with them. Ultimately, the process of unraveling hidden truths emphasizes the skull's enduring power. They are simultaneously tangible and intangible, historical and contemporary, material and symbolic. The artifacts resist closure, ensuring that each generation encounters mystery anew. They compel careful observation, ethical engagement, and imaginative interpretation, reminding humanity that some truths are not easily possessed. They must be approached with humility, respect, and curiosity. The hidden truths prepare the stage for the next chapter, a confrontation with speculation, theory, and the tantalizing possibility of revelation. As the narrative moves forward, the focus will shift to interpreting the cumulative evidence, weighing science against legend, and exploring the implications of crystal skulls for human understanding, history, and perception. Each fragment of knowledge, each observation, each story contributes to an intricate tapestry that continues to evolve, challenging assumptions and inspiring inquiry across centuries and continents. As the mysteries of the crystal skulls deepen, scholars, mystics, and enthusiasts have proposed myriad theories about their creation and ultimate purpose. Were they tools, art, religious icons, or vessels of lost knowledge? Each theory carries its own logic, symbolism, and controversy, yet none fully resolves the enigma. What emerges is a landscape of speculation that spans archaeology, science, spirituality, and imagination, reflecting humanity's enduring quest to understand objects that defy conventional explanation. One of the most enduring theories suggests that the skulls were crafted by ancient Mesoamerican civilizations for ritualistic and spiritual purposes. The Maya, Aztec, and other cultures revered skulls as symbols of mortality, divine authority, and the cycle of life and death. Crystal, with its clarity, purity, and reflective qualities, may have been chosen to amplify spiritual perception, meditative focus, or ritual potency. In this view, the skulls were not mere objects of art. They were active instruments in ceremonies, bridging the human and divine, the living and the ancestral, offering a tangible connection to forces beyond ordinary perception. Another prominent theory posits that the skulls are remnants of lost civilizations or advanced ancient knowledge. Some researchers suggest that their precise craftsmanship, intricate internal structures, and optical properties hint at technological capabilities not yet understood. Were these civilizations capable of manipulating tools, light, or energy in ways modern science struggles to replicate? Did they encode knowledge in the crystal itself, leaving behind artifacts that act as repositories of wisdom, memory, or cosmic insight? This hypothesis transforms the skulls into more than ritual objects. They become evidence of a sophisticated, perhaps forgotten civilization, challenging our understanding of technological history. Mystical and metaphysical interpretations expand the scope further. Spiritual practitioners often regard the skulls as conduits of consciousness, energy, or universal knowledge. Some propose that the skulls are living in a symbolic or energetic sense, designed to respond to human intention and focus. In these frameworks, the skulls are not inert objects, but active participants in human perception, amplifying insight, intuition, and spiritual resonance. Practitioners claim that meditation, ritual, or careful handling allows access to information encoded within the crystal, connecting observers to ancestral wisdom, cosmic cycles, or hidden dimensions of consciousness. Skeptics, however, offer a counterpoint that some skulls are modern creations designed to exploit curiosity, belief, and desire for rare artifacts. Evidence exists that certain skulls entering European and American collections in the 19th and 20th centuries were carved using contemporary tools, leaving marks inconsistent with ancient methods. These objects may have been produced for profit, prestige, or fascination, blending artistry and illusion. Yet even skeptics concede that not all skulls are easily explained, and the persistence of their allure across cultures, time, and disciplines demands a nuanced understanding that transcends simple fraud or misattribution. Theories of extraterrestrial influence have also captured the imagination. Some speculate that the skulls were gifts from, or inspired by, advanced civilizations beyond Earth, designed to encode knowledge or facilitate human development. Proponents point to the artifact's unusual clarity, precise internal features, and global symbolic parallels as evidence of a broader connection. While such hypotheses are often dismissed in academic circles, they highlight the skull's capacity to provoke radical inquiry and challenge assumptions about human history, capability, and the potential reach of intelligence. Symbolism plays a crucial role in theorizing purpose. The human skull universally represents mortality, consciousness, and identity, while crystals symbolizes clarity, purity, and the capacity to transmit light. Combining these elements may reflect deliberate design, with multiple layers of meaning. Were the skulls intended as teaching tools, spiritual catalysts, or ethical reminders? Do they encode lessons about human nature, mortality, and the pursuit of knowledge? The symbolic interplay offers insight even when empirical evidence is lacking, suggesting that intention, perception, and ritual were as important as material composition. Anthropological studies reinforce the idea that creation and purpose may be inseparable from cultural context. Indigenous narratives describe skulls as vessels for ancestral communication, objects of guidance, or instruments in ceremonial practice. The artifact function was not merely decorative or functional. It was relational, ethical, and experiential. Observers' intention, reverence, and engagement dictated the outcome, emphasizing that purpose may not reside solely in the object, but in the interaction between human and artifact. This aligns with broader patterns observed in other ritual objects globally, suggesting a universal human understanding of material as mediator, guide, and teacher. Modern experimentation and interaction provide further clues. Laboratory studies of acoustics, optical properties, and material composition reveal subtle patterns, resonance, reflection, and internal geometry that might correspond with ritual or functional objectives. Observers, when engaging with the skulls in controlled or meditative settings, report heightened perception, emotional resonance, or visual phenomena. Whether these effects are subjective, psychosomatic, or evidence of an intrinsic energetic property remains contested, yet the repeated pattern suggests that creation and purpose were carefully intertwined, designed to interact with human consciousness. The diversity of skulls, size, craftsmanship, clarity, and provenance complicates the search for a single purpose. Some may have been ceremonial, others symbolic, and a few perhaps intended as teaching tools, repositories of knowledge, or energetic amplifiers. The possibility of multiple creators across time and geography suggests that purpose may not be singular. Instead, it reflects a spectrum of human intention, ranging from ritual devotion to intellectual inquiry, from spiritual guidance to aesthetic admiration. Each skull becomes a node in a broader network of meaning, its role determined by context, user, and historical circumstance. Ultimately, theories of creation and purpose illuminate more than artifact design. They reveal the human psyche. The skulls provoke curiosity, ethical reflection, spiritual exploration, and scientific inquiry, acting as mirrors of human ambition, reverence, and imagination. Whether viewed as ritual tools, remnants of lost civilizations, metaphysical conduits, or modern fabrications, the skull's purpose is inseparable from the fascination they inspire. They exist as points of convergence where human creativity, aspiration, and mystery intersect, inviting ongoing exploration, interpretation, and wonder. As theorists continue to debate, test, and meditate upon the crystal skulls, one truth emerges. Purpose may be layered, complex, and resistant to definitive categorization. The skulls are simultaneously historical artifacts, technological puzzles, spiritual conduits, and psychological catalysts. Their creation and function operate on multiple planes, encompassing craftsmanship, symbolism, intention, and experience. Each theory, while incomplete, contributes a piece to a mosaic of understanding, highlighting the interplay of history, culture, consciousness, and imagination. The exploration of creation and purpose naturally leads into the next chapter, the unveiling of modern discoveries, archaeological investigation, and the revelations that continue to reshape our understanding of crystal skulls. By examining theory alongside evidence, narrative alongside empirical observation, we approach the tantalizing possibility of connecting myth, history, and science, drawing closer to answers while acknowledging the persistent enigma that defines these extraordinary artifacts. In the 20th and 21st centuries, crystal skulls transitioned from objects of legend to subjects of rigorous modern investigation. Archaeologists, material scientists, and private collectors began applying contemporary tools and techniques, seeking to uncover the truths hidden within these enigmatic artifacts. Laboratory studies, imaging technologies, and cross-cultural analysis revealed remarkable details, some confirming long-held suspicions, others deepening the mystery. Modern discoveries have transformed the skulls from curiosities into powerful symbols of human ingenuity, belief, and the enduring tension between fact and speculation. One of the most significant revelations came from microscopic analysis. Advanced electron microscopy allowed researchers to examine carvings, tool marks, and surface textures with unprecedented precision. Some skulls displayed patterns consistent with rotary cutting, abrasives, and polishing methods not known to pre-Columbian civilizations. These findings ignited debates over authenticity. Were these the products of ancient ingenuity or the work of modern hands? Yet, other skulls examined in similar detail bore no evidence of contemporary tools, exhibiting characteristics suggesting creation with techniques that remain unknown, leaving the debate unresolved. X-ray and tomography studies further exposed the skull's hidden complexities. Internal structures, tiny channels, cavities, and symmetry previously invisible suggest intentional design rather than random fracture or wear. Some features appear to optimize acoustic or light properties, hinting at potential ritualistic, symbolic, or functional uses. These discoveries reinforce the idea that skulls were more than ornamental or ceremonial. They might represent sophisticated experiments in energy, perception, or human interaction, reflecting a level of understanding of material properties that remains astonishing even by modern standards. Archaeological context, when available, offered additional insights. Some skulls were found in tombs, ceremonial sites, or hidden caches accompanied by offerings, inscriptions, or iconography consistent with spiritual practices. These findings link the skulls to ritual significance, suggesting that their creation and placement were deliberate acts with social, spiritual, and cultural meaning. Yet the scarcity of well-documented provenance continues to challenge understanding. Many skulls emerged in private collections, disconnected from original archaeological context, leaving gaps that fuel speculation and controversy. Modern discoveries also include advances in dating and material analysis. Techniques such as thermoluminescence, radiocarbon association, and isotopic testing reveal that quartz used in some skulls is of remarkable purity and uniformity. Some specimens display minimal inclusions or internal flaws, raising questions about whether ancient artisans could achieve such perfection without advanced tools or processes. While skeptics attribute certain findings to natural selection of rare materials and meticulous handcrafting, others see evidence of techniques that remain unknown or lost to history, emphasizing the skull's position at the intersection of possibility and mystery. Public and scholarly engagement with crystal skulls has evolved alongside discovery. Exhibitions, documentaries, and scientific publications have disseminated findings, sparking global fascination. This exposure has encouraged interdisciplinary collaboration, bringing together archaeologists, physicists, historians, and spiritual practitioners. Each group contributes a unique perspective, weaving empirical data with cultural, symbolic, and experiential interpretations. The convergence of disciplines mirrors the complexity of the skulls themselves, reinforcing their ability to provoke curiosity, debate, and wonder across fields of human knowledge. Revelations also emerge from experiential studies. Researchers conducting controlled meditation, acoustic testing, and light exposure experiments reported measurable effects on human perception, emotional state, and cognitive focus. While some critics attribute these phenomena to expectation, suggestion, or placebo effects, repeated observations indicate consistent patterns. Observers frequently experience heightened awareness, emotional resonance, or visual phenomena in response to skull interaction. These modern encounters bridge ancient mystical accounts with empirical observation, suggesting that some aspects of the skull's influence are not purely anecdotal. The media and popular culture further amplified discoveries, transforming crystal skulls into symbols of intrigue, adventure, and speculation. Films, books, and television documentaries often dramatize the skull's history, linking them to lost civilizations, supernatural powers, and global conspiracies. While these portrayals occasionally exaggerate or fictionalize, they reflect the skull's enduring cultural power and reinforce the public perception that these artifacts are extraordinary in ways that transcend simple historical or scientific explanation. Modern technology has also enabled collaborative investigation. International teams have shared data, high-resolution scans, and analytical results, allowing cross-validation and deeper scrutiny. Such collaboration reveals patterns. Some carvings align with astronomical or geometric principles. Others exhibit optical or acoustic properties, suggesting deliberate design choices. These discoveries hint at intentionality, raising questions about knowledge transmission, purpose, and human capacity. Even with advanced analysis, some aspects remain inexplicable, ensuring that fascination continues and that the skull's story remains unfinished. Another revelation concerns authenticity and forgery. Several skulls were exposed as modern creations, crafted with rotary tools and abrasives inconsistent with ancient methods. While this initially fueled skepticism, the exposure of forgeries paradoxically strengthened interest. It highlighted the difficulty in distinguishing ancient ingenuity from modern imitation, underscoring the skull's ability to confound perception and test human judgment. In some cases, the contrast between authentic and forged artifacts deepened appreciation for the precision, effort, and mystery surrounding genuine examples. Finally, modern discoveries emphasize the human dimension. Researchers, collectors, and spiritual practitioners consistently report profound personal transformation after interacting with skulls. These effects, emotional, cognitive, or spiritual, reinforce historical accounts of mystical engagement. The artifact's ability to influence human experience bridges centuries, suggesting that crystal skulls were never merely objects to observe. They were tools for reflection, insight, and transformation. Contemporary encounters echo the whispers of the ancients, connecting observer and artifact across time, space, and culture. Modern discoveries and revelations, therefore, reveal multiple layers of significance. Empirical study illuminates material, structural, and acoustic properties, while archaeological context situates the skulls within ritual, social, and symbolic frameworks. Experiential and cultural observations demonstrate their ongoing influence on consciousness and perception. Even contested authenticity contributes to understanding, emphasizing the artifact's power to provoke inquiry, debate, and wonder. Collectively, these revelations paint a complex portrait. Crystal skulls exist simultaneously as material wonders, cultural icons, spiritual catalysts, and psychological mirrors. These insights prepare the stage for the next chapter, a confrontation with competing theories, culminating in a synthesis of history, science, and symbolism. As modern discoveries reveal both clarity and ambiguity, the narrative advances toward understanding purpose, evaluating evidence, and considering the implications of crystal skulls for human knowledge, culture, and imagination. Each revelation, each study, each encounter is a step toward unraveling a story that remains as enigmatic today as it was centuries ago, underscoring the enduring power of these extraordinary artifacts. As the story of crystal skulls nears its emotional and intellectual climax, the ultimate enigma emerges, a convergence of history, science, legend, and human fascination that resists explanation. Despite centuries of inquiry, thousands of hours of research, and the devotion of countless observers, the skulls continue to defy simple understanding. Their origin, purpose, and power remain elusive, challenging assumptions, provoking debate, and captivating imaginations across the globe. The ultimate enigma is not merely the skulls themselves, but the interplay between artifact, observer, and the vast unknown that surrounds them. One dimension of the enigma is historical contradiction. Archaeologists, historians, and collectors have attempted to trace provenance, yet the trail is often fragmented, inconsistent, or lost entirely. Some skulls appear in contexts consistent with Mesoamerican ceremonial life, while others surface in distant regions with unclear or dubious documentation. This inconsistency fuels speculation. Were these skulls part of a widespread trade network, symbols of universal human experience, or creations of multiple cultures independently drawn to similar forms and materials? The historical ambiguity ensures that the skulls cannot be understood in isolation. They exist within a tapestry of cultural, geographical, and temporal complexity. Material complexity adds another layer to the enigma. The clarity, hardness, and precision of the crystal skulls surpass typical standards of ancient craftsmanship. Modern studies reveal features that appear technologically advanced or difficult to replicate using known ancient tools. At the same time, some skulls show unmistakable signs of modern machining, blurring the line between authenticity and fabrication. The juxtaposition of ancient skill and potential modern interference creates a paradox. Even as scientific techniques illuminate construction, they simultaneously raise new questions, reinforcing the skull's capacity to confound and fascinate. The spiritual and symbolic dimension further deepens the mystery. Indigenous narratives, shamanic practices, and contemporary spiritual engagement suggest that the skulls operate as more than physical objects. They act as conduits of consciousness, mirrors of human intention, and amplifiers of perception. Observers across centuries report visions, heightened awareness, and emotional resonance. Such experiences resist empirical reduction, suggesting that the enigma is as much about human interaction as about material form. The skull's ultimate power may lie not only in what they are, but in how they engage human curiosity, perception, and belief. Psychological factors play a crucial role in sustaining the enigma. Human fascination, expectation, and projection amplify the significance of the skulls. The artifacts act as triggers for awe, reflection, and inquiry, catalyzing both scholarly research and spiritual exploration. While some experiences can be attributed to suggestion, perception, or cultural framing, the persistence of similar reports across centuries and continents indicates that the skulls consistently evoke profound engagement. The ultimate enigma, therefore, is as much a reflection of human consciousness as it is of crystal, carving, or legend. Contradiction is central to the skull's enduring power. Evidence of sophisticated craftsmanship, spiritual accounts of resonance, and modern laboratory analysis coexist with skepticism, fraud, and incomplete provenance. This duality creates a tension that fuels continued fascination. Each new discovery or reinterpretation does not resolve the enigma. It amplifies it, highlighting the skull's role as catalyst for curiosity, debate, and wonder. In this way, the artifacts themselves are active participants, shaping the narrative as much as they are being studied. The enigma extends into moral and ethical reflection. Historical and modern observers report consequences tied to intention, approach, and engagement. Those driven by greed or ego often experience misfortune or frustration, while those who approach with curiosity, reverence, or ethical consideration report insight, inspiration, or transformation. The ultimate enigma, therefore, encompasses not only mystery and knowledge, but human character. The skulls act as mirrors, reflecting strengths, weaknesses, and the moral weight of interaction with objects of profound significance. Global resonance amplifies the enigma. From the Americas to Europe, Asia, and beyond, the skull's influence crosses borders, cultures, and belief systems. This universality suggests that the phenomenon they represent, human engagement with the unknown, reverence for symbolic form, and pursuit of insight, resonates across the species, not just within a single tradition. The skulls embody a shared human impulse, the desire to reach beyond the visible, to grasp meaning, and to encounter mystery that challenges comprehension. The ultimate enigma also resides in paradox, clarity within opacity, simplicity within complexity, physicality within metaphysical significance. Each skull contains precise form, yet resists definitive categorization. Each historical trace invites explanation, yet leaves gaps. Each observer experiences insight or wonder, yet cannot capture the full truth. These layers of paradox reinforce the sense that crystal skulls operate on multiple planes simultaneously: archaeological, technological, spiritual, psychological, and symbolic, creating an enigma that is as holistic as it is elusive. Technological and scientific advances may continue to shed light, yet they will never entirely resolve the mystery. As high-resolution imaging, spectroscopy, and experimental archaeology evolve, we may learn more about material composition, carving techniques, and provenance. Yet the spiritual, psychological, and symbolic dimensions are less amenable to empirical measurement, ensuring that fascination, wonder, and speculation remain central to the story. The ultimate enigma is therefore perpetuated not by lack of inquiry, but by the richness and multi-layered nature of the skulls themselves. At its heart, the ultimate enigma poses fundamental questions about human curiosity, history, and perception. Why were these objects created? Who created them? What purpose, if any, do they serve? Are they remnants of ancient civilizations, modern creations, metaphysical tools, or a combination of all? The skulls resist binary answers, inviting reflection on ambiguity, uncertainty, and the limits of knowledge. Engaging with the enigma is itself a process of discovery, reflection, and transformation, mirroring the experiences of those who have encountered the skulls across centuries. This enigma sets the stage for the final chapter, a resolution that blends revelation, reflection, and emotional closure. While definitive answers remain elusive, the narrative now prepares to synthesize history, legend, scientific investigation, and human experience. The ultimate enigma, paradoxically, becomes a source of insight, encouraging humility, curiosity, and recognition of the profound interplay between human perception and the unknown. As the journey through history, science, myth, and human fascination reaches its conclusion, a sense of revelation emerges. Not a simple answer, but a profound understanding of what crystal skulls represent. These enigmatic artifacts, crafted from quartz, shaped with extraordinary precision, and layered with centuries of story, are more than historical curiosities. They are mirrors of human ambition, vessels of imagination, and catalysts for inquiry, challenging the observer to confront the limits of knowledge, perception, and belief. The revelation lies in the interplay between artifact and observer, where each interaction unfolds a new dimension of insight. Throughout history, the crystal skulls have inspired awe and obsession, belief and skepticism. Explorers in shadowed jungles, colonial collectors, and modern researchers alike have been drawn to their uncanny perfection, intrigued by both craftsmanship and enigma. Laboratory studies reveal microscratches, internal geometries, and optical properties that defy easy categorization. Archaeological context provides tantalizing but incomplete clues about their ceremonial and cultural significance. Spiritual practitioners report transformative experiences, heightened perception, and deep reflection when engaging with the skulls. Collectively, these threads weave a tapestry of revelation, complex, layered, and always open to interpretation. The emotional resonance of the skulls is central to this revelation. Human interaction with these artifacts evokes not merely curiosity, but reflection on mortality, consciousness, and the pursuit of meaning. The skull's human form is a universal symbol, reminding observers of life's fragility and the continuum between past, present, and future. Their crystalline nature amplifies this symbolism, clear, reflective, and enduring. The skulls serve as conduits for meditation on permanence and impermanence, clarity and obscurity. They invite contemplation not only of their origins, but of the observer's own journey through history, knowledge, and understanding. Scientific revelations highlight human ingenuity across time. Whether ancient or modern, the skulls display extraordinary craftsmanship. Microstructural studies and optical analysis demonstrate precision that challenges assumptions about tool technology and human skill. Even when some skulls are revealed as modern creations, the artistry, dedication, and technical expertise required to produce them evoke admiration and wonder. The revelation, therefore, extends beyond the objects themselves. It celebrates human creativity, resilience, and the capacity to inspire curiosity across generations. Cultural and spiritual insights deepen the sense of reflection. Indigenous narratives portray the skulls as sacred objects, conduits of ancestral knowledge, or instruments of guidance. Ceremonial use imbued them with social and ethical significance, teaching lessons about intention, respect, and the consequences of human action. Modern spiritual engagement echoes these themes, suggesting that the skull's power is relational. It is activated through conscious interaction, contemplation, and ethical engagement. The artifacts, in essence, require participation, creating a dialogue between material presence and human consciousness. The synthesis of scientific, historical, and mystical perspectives underscores a central revelation. Crystal skulls resist reduction to a single explanation. Their mystery thrives in ambiguity, inviting interdisciplinary inquiry and imaginative engagement. Scholars may never fully determine their origin or purpose, yet the process of investigation itself enriches understanding. The skulls encourage patience, observation, and reflection, demonstrating that the pursuit of knowledge is as valuable as its attainment. In this way, the artifacts teach humility, curiosity, and the importance of engaging deeply with the unknown. Reflection is also ethical and personal. Historical accounts, modern encounters, and spiritual experiences consistently demonstrate that intention matters. Those driven by ego, greed, or superficial curiosity often encounter frustration, disappointment, or even misfortune. In contrast, observers who approach with respect, openness, and genuine inquiry report insight, inspiration, and transformation. This dynamic is perhaps the most profound revelation of all. The skulls act as moral and psychological mirrors, reflecting the character, intention, and integrity of those who seek to understand them. The global and timeless resonance of the skulls amplifies their significance. They have traveled across continents, entered diverse cultural frameworks, and inspired fascination for centuries. From ancient Mesoamerican civilizations to European collectors, and from modern laboratories to spiritual circles, the skulls have consistently provoked wonder and reflection. This universality suggests that their mystery taps into a fundamental human impulse, the desire to explore, comprehend, and connect with forces beyond immediate perception. In essence, the skulls bridge human experience across time, culture, and consciousness.